They handed me the 100 Herbs Valley and called it a promotion. Everyone in the sect knew better. It is dead ground where disciples go to be forgotten, and I am Jin Hyun, the one they forgot. Then my cultivation technique woke up. It thinks, it talks, and it cultivates for me every hour of every day, while I eat and while I sleep. Getting strong turned out to be the easy half, and the hard half is hiding why. Subscribe if you have not already, and drop a like to keep the algorithm fed. Story starts now. To get here, I had to start as nothing. Let me show you that morning. The old man across the table smiles like a prisoner whose sentence has just been commuted. He tells me that from today the whole of 100 Herbs Valley sits in my hands. I ask him what the hurry is. He answers that I am too young to understand. His lifespan is running down to the last of itself, and he would rather spend what remains at home than wait to die in this valley. Then he draws several books from his sleeve and pushes them across the table. He calls it unfair of him to retire on me this suddenly, and asks me to take his cultivation notes from all the years he spent here. I accept them without any polite refusing, because I need them more than he knows. I passed the Sect examination 3 days ago, and 3 days ago the Cloud Sea Sect read my results and posted me out to 100 Herbs Valley. Senior brother Lee has guarded this place alone for decades, and has been asking to go home for most of them. But the Sect would never approve it while nobody else stood in the valley. Then I arrived. He packed everything he owned that same night, sat on his bags for 3 days, and came to say his goodbyes the moment approval landed. Being posted to the outer edge of the Sect was already miserable enough. Now I am about to be the only person here, and the next time cultivation gives me trouble there will be nobody left to ask. My talent is mediocre, and that is the entire reason I was sent here, so there is nobody to blame either. He stands and tells me not to see him out, and he is nearly through the door when something catches him. He turns back to ask whether I know about the Flowing Cloud trial. I have to admit I have never heard of it. He explains that the trial is laid on for new disciples, that it opens 3 months from now, and that the Sect will notify me before it starts. Its purpose is to check whether the newcomers have been cultivating honestly, and it is also an opportunity built for our benefit. Every participant enters the Flowing Cloud secret realm, where a batch of tokens has been scattered ahead of time. The whole contest is a scramble to collect them, and the ranking is drawn from the count at the end. Senior brother Lee lays out the arithmetic plainly. A strong finish earns generous rewards. An average one still trades tokens for contribution points, and coming out empty earns nothing. His advice is to find a few tokens, then find a hole to sit in until the trial closes. Above all, he warns me not to get greedy. He was greedy himself once, hunting for more right up until he ran into other disciples with time still on the clock. They beat him so thoroughly he never landed a blow in return, and everything he had gathered went into their pouches. He sighs the way men sigh over money they lost. 40 years ago, I cut my hands and thank him for the guidance. He returns the bow, tells me that was the last of it, and strides out pulling a flying magical artifact from his robes. He is mounted before he clears the doorway, and the artifact turns into a streak of light and carries him out of 100 Herbs Valley without one look back. The man was in a genuine hurry to go home. I stand there a while longer, looking at a valley that will be mine and empty for a very long stretch of years. Fine, it is quieter this way. The Flowing Cloud trial is a real opportunity for resources, and I intend to take it, though I will keep the old man's advice and pull out once I have a few tokens. That settled, I go back to my room to cultivate. 3 days into the Sect, my talent is exactly as unremarkable as the examiners judged it, since I have not even finished drawing chi into the body. I can feel it is close though, probably a day or two out. The technique I practice is the Flowing Cloud art, the introductory cultivation technique the Cloud Sea Sect hands to every disciple who walks through its gate. Introductory or not, it carries a practitioner all the way to the Tao Foundation realm. Tao Foundation is the third realm on the path, where spiritual power solidifies, a cultivator's strength turns unfathomable, and a lifespan can stretch to 500 years. I sit cross-legged on the bed and let the Flowing Cloud art run. The spiritual chi in the room gathers and circles me a long time before it commits and pours into my body all at once, and drawing chi into the body is done. A chime goes off inside my skull, clean as a struck bell, and a line arrives with it announcing that the spirit awakening system has bound to me successfully. My eyes come open. 3 days out of the examination hall, posted to the worst ground the Sect owns, and a system. It explains itself before I can ask, saying it can spirit awaken the cultivation techniques and Tao techniques its host practices, waking sentience in them. Then it tells me it is generating a panel, and the panel is short enough to take in at a glance. It puts my name on the host line and sets my realm at the first level of chi gathering. It credits me with 5 spirit awakening points. It lists the Flowing Cloud art as my cultivation technique, notes that the technique has not been spirit awakened, and leaves the Tao technique line reading as none. Simple functions, simply displayed. I have no idea what a technique does once it has a mind of its own, but a system is a system, and a system has to be worth something. One question surfaces on its own. If spirit awakening points are what wake a technique up, how does a man come by more of them? The answer arrives before I finish thinking it. At this stage, the system says, points come only through breakthroughs, one for every major realm breakthrough. 1 point for an entire major realm is stingy enough to be insulting, but it beats nothing, and I have 5 in the account already. There is also the phrase at this stage which strongly suggests other routes open later. I feel around inside the panel until I find how a point is spent, and drop 1 onto the flowing cloud art. The report comes back immediately, and it is not what I expected. My cultivation technique is extremely dissatisfied with the state of my cultivation. It wants to know why there is only a single wisp of spiritual power in me, and whether a single wisp qualifies a man as a cultivator at all. It adds that a stray dog off the roadside, given the ability to cultivate, would already be stronger than I am. I sit there with nothing to say. I woke this thing up 10 seconds ago, and it has spent every one of them insulting me. A stray dog I have been cultivating for 3 days, so of course I am this weak. And I did not spend a spirit awakening point for the privilege of being cursed at by my own technique. The next line lands before I can assemble a rebuttal. The flowing cloud art declares that its fate is determined by itself and not by heaven, and that since its host is a good-for-nothing, it will become the sovereign on its own. Then the system reports, flatly, that my cultivation technique has begun to cultivate. I feel it happen. The spiritual power inside me climbs steadily without any input from me, and the argument I was building dies unspoken. Big brother, that was a magnificent insult, and being a good-for-nothing is entirely my fault. I can barely keep the grin off my face. The next thing to test is whether a technique cultivating on its own gets in the way of anything else I do. I take out one of the 2 Dao techniques issued to me at entry, the flowing cloud myriad forms, which is top tier. Dao techniques come in 5 ranks, running low-grade, intermediate, advanced, top-tier, and supreme. So a top-tier technique handed to a first-day disciple says everything about the Cloud Sea Sects Foundation. It is one of the top sects in the Azure Cloud realm, and the story is that its legacy came down from the upper realm. The realms of the mortal domain run to 15 stages across 3 tiers. The lower 5 are Qi Gathering, Spirit Sea, Dao Foundation, Purple Mansion, and Nascent Soul, with Nascent Soul standing as the ceiling of the minor 1,000 worlds. The middle 5 are Dharna Idol, Grotto Heaven, Profound Mastery, Life and Death, and Nirvana, topping out the middle 1,000 worlds. The upper 5 are Sub-Saint, Saint, Great Saint, Quasi-Emperor, and Great Emperor. Great Emperor is the highest thing the major 1,000 worlds has ever produced. That story is probably true, judging by what lands in a new disciple's hands. Every introductory cultivation technique the sect issues is good enough to reach Dao Foundation, and the introductory Dao techniques are top tier outright. The Azure Cloud Realm is only a minor 1,000 worlds, where an advanced Dao technique is already vanishingly rare, so handing out top tier ones to beginners is close to absurd. Back to the test. I go straight at the Dao technique, and the system does not disappoint me, because the flowing cloud art keeps grinding away without hindering my study at all. Its cultivation does not touch me, and my use of spiritual energy does not touch it. 3 days later, I reach the entry level of the flowing cloud myriad forms. Inside the Cloud Sea Sect, my talent counts as average, but measured against the whole Azure Cloud realm, it is respectable, since a man with nothing does not pass through these gates. I take the technique into the courtyard. The core of the flowing cloud myriad forms is one word, and the word is change, since it uses cloud chi as its foundation and answers any combat situation by shifting shape. When attack is called for, cloud turns into swords, and when defense is called for, cloud turns into shield walls. When something needs holding, cloud turns into chains. And when something needs confusing, cloud turns into illusions. I activate it and a long sword condenses out of the cloud chi straight into my grip, and when I swing it, the weight and bite are those of a real blade. I run the technique through several other shapes, and the breadth of it is genuinely startling. As expected of a top-tier Dao technique, the Cloud Sea Sect cannot be faulted for generosity, since a new disciple leaves entry with a cultivation technique that reaches Dao Foundation and the top-tier flowing cloud myriad forms. The second Dao technique is no disappointment either, an advanced movement art called the Flowing Cloud Moonstep. On top of that come 3 medium-grade magical artifacts, a longsword with the words Flowing Cloud cut into the blade, a cloud-shaped flying artifact, and a storage pouch. Standard issue for every disciple here, and still an extravagant hand to be dealt on day 1. I call the panel up again. My realm still reads the first level of Qi Gathering, and the Spirit Awakening points have dropped to 4. The Flowing Cloud art is listed as Spirit Awakened, while the Flowing Cloud Myriad form sits under Dao Technique at entry proficiency. Tagged is not Spirit Awakened. Whatever a Dao technique gains from waking up, it can presumably grind its own proficiency the way the cultivation technique grinds my cultivation. Proficiency runs through 5 levels: entry, proficient, minor achievement, major achievement, and perfection. So there is a long ladder for something tireless to climb. I do not hesitate for even a breath. What comes back is not a progress report, but the opening of a feud. My Tao technique casts a disdainful look at my cultivation technique and asks what kind of low-level trash it is looking at, adding that the spiritual energy I have cultivated does not smell right. My cultivation technique, furious, starts elbowing my Tao technique. It informs the newcomer that without the energy the flowing cloud art produces, even a supreme Tao technique would amount to nothing at all. Then the system tells me, in the same even tone it uses for everything, that my cultivation technique and my Tao technique are fighting each other. I have no words. What exactly is a man supposed to do with the news that his cultivation technique and his Tao technique are fighting each other? I wanted the two of them competing, not brawling, and I would settle for either doing something productive with the afternoon. The flowing cloud art suppresses the Tao technique. The flowing cloud myriad forms takes this extremely badly, since a mere low-level technique has just forbidden it the use of spiritual energy. It swears inwardly that today's humiliation will be repaid 100 times over, insisting that fortunes turn and that no man with sense sneers at a poor youth. Then it throws itself into a cultivation frenzy, promising that once it reaches perfection and condenses its Tao seal, it will beat that low-level technique until it grovels. My cultivation technique answers with pure contempt. An enemy it has already defeated has never once counted as a rival, it says, and it will graciously allow the Tao technique time to catch up until it is out of sight. Then the flowing cloud art begins a cultivation frenzy of its own. Impressive. This works too. There is definitely something wrong with this system. Waking sentience in my techniques has also handed both of them foul mouths and a taste for trash talk, and neither has said a civil sentence yet. Still, whatever the defects, the outcome is that both of them cultivate around the clock while I do nothing. Everybody wins. The resting is a joke, because one Tao technique still sits unlearned in my possession, and wasting it would be criminal. I need the flowing cloud moonstep mastered and spirit awakened as fast as I can manage. It is only an advanced technique, but hoarding spirit awakening points is worthless if the points never convert into strength, and strength buys resources while resources buy more strength. Once the moonstep is running itself, then I can really rest, and everything after that comes down to my three big brothers. The moonstep is easier ground than the myriad forms, and takes me 2 days to bring to entry. Then I spend the point. My Tao technique announces its own arrival before anything else happens, proclaiming that it is flowing cloud without a trace, and moonstepping without a shadow, and that its name is the flowing cloud moonstep. My other Tao technique responds to this introduction by launching a heavy-fisted attack on it. They are fighting again, and I am beginning to understand that I am raising problem children. The flowing cloud moonstep is beaten into submission and forced to acknowledge the flowing cloud myriad forms as its big brother. The myriad forms, feeling capable again, immediately leads its new subordinate in ganging up on my cultivation technique, and my cultivation technique suppresses my Tao technique. I have nothing left to say, so I complain aloud that anything this bad should be practicing more instead of playing so much. The Tao technique overheats with rage at that, and the system reports that it has begun cultivating itself to death. I smile. Now I really can rest. My techniques do not merely cultivate on their own, they cultivate far faster than I ever could, and the life that follows is the most leisurely stretch I have ever had. I drink tea, I read the books senior brother Lee left me, and now and then I tend the medicine fields. The Cloud Sea Sect keeps many herb gardens, and 100 Herbs Valley is the worst of them by a wide margin, which is precisely why nobody was here. The Sect does not even require this valley to hand over spirit medicines. Long ago, the ground held rich spiritual chi, and then for reasons nobody recorded, the chi dissipated and never returned. What grows here now is mostly unranked spirit medicine with a scattering of first-tier stock the Sect cannot be bothered to collect. Everything the valley produces is left to the disciple who tends it, to hand in for contribution points or sell off for cultivation resources. Call it the Sect's small apology for exiling a man to the frontier. In its own way, the Cloud Sea Sect is quite humane. 2 months and change go by before anyone comes down the valley road. A young disciple lands his flying magical artifact at the mouth of my courtyard and calls out to ask whether junior brother Jin is at home. Inside the house, I hear him and get up, and my cultivation technique and both Tao techniques keep right on cultivating as I walk. I asked the system about this early on, and it assured me that nobody will ever notice no matter who is standing directly in front of me while the techniques grind away. My own system has not lied to me yet, so I go out with a clear conscience. The visitor turns out to be Song Do, an alchemy hall disciple from last year's batch, and I cup my hands and greet him as senior brother. Before a new intake learns its way around, the small errands of every peak and hall fall to the previous year's disciples, and 100 Herbs Valley sits under the alchemy hall. Song Du escorted me out here 2 months ago, and now he is the one arriving to tell me when the flowing cloud trail opens, and how it will run. I bring him into the main room and pour him tea. He takes a sip and tells me to be standing at the Sect main hall before mid-morning 3 days from now, and not to be late about it. I nod, then ask him for more. Senior Brother Lee left in such a rush that he never described the Flowing Cloud secret realm properly, and I want to know whether anything inside is worth watching for. A system is not a reason to walk into a trial blind. I want the shape of the place, and a read on the other new disciples would be better still. 3 of the disciples who entered with me this year are geniuses carrying spirit bodies. In this world, a cultivator's talent is decided entirely by physique, and physiques run weakest to strongest as mortal body, spirit body, king body, divine body, and saintly body. I am a mortal body and nothing more. Songdu has nowhere pressing to be, so he settles in and talks freely. He says there is not much danger in the Flowing Cloud secret realm. Disciples compete for tokens and share the ground with a great many first-tier early-stage demon beasts, but a grand array inside is connected to every new disciple who enters. A fatal blow gets intercepted by the array, which then teleports the victim straight out. Everyone also receives a teleportation talisman beforehand and can tear it to leave at will. The penalty for going out early is half of whatever tokens have been gathered. If a demon beast is the cause, that half simply vanishes. And if a disciple is the cause, it lands in that disciple's pouch. His advice matches the old man's, which is to avoid other disciples, find a handful of tokens, and sit somewhere quiet until the trial closes. Then he remembers one more thing, and tells me not to eat anything I cannot identify, and preferably nothing at all in there. The Flowing Cloud trial has run for a very long time, and in all those years, the handful of disciples who died inside died of poison. Every one of them put something unfamiliar in his mouth. Poisoned to death by eating strange plants, and there really are people that unlucky. Worth writing down. I ask him next about the rewards. Senior Brother Lee clearly assumed I had no chance of placing, and left without naming them, mentioning only that tokens convert to contribution points. Songdu says the rewards are generous, but that only the top 100 receive them. 3,000 new disciples enter every single year, so the top 100 is not an easy room to get into. Then he lists them out. The top 3 each take a top-grade magical artifact, a top-tier Dao technique, 10 bottles of first-tier top-grade Qi gathering pills, and 10,000 contribution points. 4th through 10th take a high-grade magical artifact, an advanced Dao technique, 5 bottles of the same pills, and 5,000 contribution points. 11th through 100th take a medium-grade magical artifact, an intermediate Dao technique, 1 bottle and 1,000 contribution points. My eyes light up before he finishes, because I want all 4 of the things in that first tier. Plenty of Spirit Sea Realm cultivators go their whole careers without a top-grade magical artifact, and top-tier Dao techniques are precious enough that the sect rations them. Even the pills at the bottom of the pile are pure cultivation resource. My techniques cultivating themselves does not mean I have stopped needing supplies, since medicinal pills would only make an already unfair arrangement faster. Contribution points buy pills, artifacts, and techniques besides. So I asked the question I came around to asking, which is what he knows about this year's 3 spirit body geniuses and how strong they are. If I am taking a shot at this, I am taking it at the top 3. Asking after mortal body disciples would be pointless, since Songdo would not know one of them by name. Spirit bodies are different. Every year, the new spirit bodies collect attention the way a lamp collects moths. Songdo sighs before he answers. Having a spirit body is genuinely enviable, he says, because the talent is powerful and the sect pours resources on top of it. In 3 short months, those 3 have already climbed to the 4th level of Qi gathering. He has been in the sect a full year, and as an Alchemy Hall disciple, he does not lack for supplies, and he is only at the 4th level himself. The spirit bodies from his own intake have already stepped into the Spirit Sea realm. He trails off on the gap between one person and another, and the envy in it is impossible to miss. Who would not be envious? Same batch, same year, and he has just reached the middle stage of Qi gathering while they have crossed into the next realm entirely. He gets to his feet, says it is getting late, and reminds me one last time not to be late in 3 days. I see him to the courtyard and watch him lift away, and once he is gone I call up the panel. My realm reads the 3rd level of Qi gathering and my spirit awakening points are down to 2. The Flowing Cloud art is spirit awakened, and under Dao techniques both the Flowing Cloud myriad forms and the Flowing Cloud moon steps sit at proficient, both spirit awakened. I read it twice and do the arithmetic Songdu handed me without meaning to. The spirit bodies are at the 4th level of Qi gathering, and among mortal body disciples even a 3rd level should be rare enough to count on one hand. Both my Dao techniques reached proficient while I drank tea and pulled weeds. Competing for the top 3 is not impossible at all. Thin spiritual Qi means I need cultivation resources more than any other disciple in the sect, and spirit awakening has still carried me this far without a single one. 2 months in the worst ground the Cloud Sea sect owns. No pills, no elixirs, nothing but tea and weeding, and my cultivation stands at the 3rd level of Qi gathering. Set me somewhere rich and hand me supplies and I would have passed the spirit body disciples already. Looking at it from that angle, there is nothing to envy about a spirit body at all. 3 days later, I wake early and take out my white cloud magical artifact. It expands on its own, lifts me, and carries me out of the valley, and before long I am setting down on the plaza outside the Sect main hall. 1,000 people are already standing on the stone, most of them this year's intake. My cultivation technique reacts to the air here before I have taken 10 steps. The flowing cloud art is shocked, and it demands to know whether the spiritual chi in this place is genuinely this rich, and what sort of hellhole I have been keeping it in. Being a failure is one thing, it adds, but holding it back is another matter entirely. I answer inwardly that I did not choose the posting. 100 Herbs Valley was assigned to me. The technique wants to know why I cannot simply come out here every day and mooch. All I do in that dump is drink tea and read books, and I am nothing but a drag on its career. I fall silent, and not out of anger. It makes a great deal of sense. Why did that never once occur to me? I am still too green, and the big brother is still the big brother. The flowing cloud art gives a satisfied snort and starts cultivating like a madman. I let a small smile through. 3 months in, I have more or less worked out how to motivate my own techniques, and this is exactly the method. The light screens descend over the plaza while the spiritual power inside me climbs at a rate I have never felt before. As expected of the ground the main hall sits on, set beside 100 Herbs Valley, it is heaven against dirt, and I really should come out here more often to graze. Or better, take the top spot in this flowing cloud trial, and I will not have to come out at all. I would not even need the top spot, since placing anywhere in the top 100 should be enough for the Sect to pull me out of 100 Herbs Valley and put me somewhere worth standing. Showing talent does not frighten me either, because the talent I am showing is nothing here. The saint bodies are too distant to think about. Even a king body, one step above a spirit body, is said to reach the spirit sea realm inside 3 months, and the Cloud Sea Sect keeps several of those. Mid-morning arrives, and by then all 3,000 new disciples are on the plaza, with a crowd of senior brothers and senior sisters ringing them to watch. 3 streaks of light come out of the main hall and settle at the entrance above us, and the whole plaza cups its hands and greets the elders together. All 3 are elders of the Cloud Sea Sect, which in a top sect of the Azure Cloud Realm means all 3 are Purple Mansion cultivators of the 4th realm. The sect keeps many nascent soul grand elders of the 5th realm besides. The 3 of them nod, and the middle-aged one in front speaks. He presumes we all know what the flowing cloud trial is, says he will open the secret realm shortly, declines to repeat the details, and tells us the trial runs 10 days. Then he waves a hand, and 3,000 teleportation talismans stream out of his storage pouch and land in 3,000 pairs of hands, without one going astray. The moment mine touches my palm, I feel a connection form between the talisman and me. And every other disciple feels the same, because the thing binds itself. He tells us to look closely at the next object and tosses a token into the air, so everybody sees exactly what to hunt for. Then he takes out a small seal, pushes spiritual power into it, and opens dozens of gates into the flowing cloud secret realm around the edges of the plaza. The secret realm sits directly beneath the Sect main hall, since it was built from the beginning to host trials for new disciples. 3,000 of us step through the gates one after another. Behind us, 3,000 light screens bloom above the plaza, 1 image per disciple. The flowing cloud trial has never been about the final count alone, and the Sect wants to watch how we get there. That is the real reason so many senior brothers and senior sisters turn out every year. 3,000 screens will always produce entertainment. A forest. My figure resolves out of nothing between the trees. Entering disciples get scattered at random so that no 2 land together, and pure randomness means a man can also arrive directly in front of a demon beast, or inside its nest. The first thing I see clearly is a black iron bear on the far side of the clearing, staring straight at me. Black fur, paws like dark iron, and a roar that shakes the branches as it brings one of those paws down at my head. I trigger the flowing cloud moon step and my body slides 30 feet backwards like a phantom. Leaving would be easy, and tokens are what I came for. Then again, 3 months of cultivating have not included one real fight. Might as well find out what I am worth. I call up the flowing cloud myriad forms, and the cloud energy around me condenses into a flight of arrows that tear the air as they go for the bear's face. They are fast enough that the paws cannot cover everything, and 2 of them punch straight into its eyes. The second roar is not a challenge. It is pain with rage packed inside it. I press, and the cloud energy gathers into a set of long swords that I send in. The bear is blind now, so it tracks them by hearing and smell and swings its iron paws in a frenzy to knock them down. Cloud energy does not stay knocked down, since every blade that gets swatted apart recondenses a few feet away and rejoins the attack. I hold my focus on all of them at once. 2 things carry me through it: my proficient mastery of the flowing cloud myriad forms, and the discovery that the Dao technique itself helps with the control. The swords weave and thrust where I want them, hunting the gaps between the paws. Then the bear commits to one enormous swing and leaves its chest wide open. One long sword crosses the distance like lightning and goes through its throat before the paws can come back. and the whole mass of it stiffens and drops. I do not walk over. I keep the cloud sword working and put a few more strikes into the body. Only once I am certain it is dead do I approach and look at what I have made of it. Then I store the corpse in my storage pouch. Everything gained inside the secret realm can be carried out by the disciple who took it, slaying demon beasts included, which is a real benefit for anyone with the strength to collect it. The flowing cloud myriad forms is genuinely a top-tier Dao technique. This thing is useful. I do not linger, and the moonstep takes me out of the clearing to start hunting tokens. On the Sect Plaza, the 3 elders watch 3,000 screens at once, which their divine sense makes no harder than watching one. The white-haired elder among them puts a curious question to the other 2. This little fellow plainly has no spirit body, yet he stands at the 3rd level of chi gathering with 2 Dao techniques mastered far deeper than they should be. So whose peak is he from? The middle-aged elder does not recognize the face and shakes his head, and the female elder shakes hers as well. The middle-aged elder calls over a Deacon Hall disciple and tells him to find out. The Deacon Hall turns up the records fast. Their disciple comes back and reports that the man is named Jin Hyun. His heart nature was rated excellent at the entrance examination, his talent ranked in the lower reaches of the intake, and 100 Herbs Valley was assigned on that basis. The female elder cannot help exclaiming at it, since climbing to the 3rd level of chi gathering in 3 months in that place should not be possible. The middle-aged elder smiles and calls it average talent with deep cultivation, which usually means the boy has come across an opportunity of his own. Then the white-haired elder makes his move. He points out that 100 Herbs Valley falls under the Alchemy Hall, and the Alchemy Hall under his Danso Peak. Then he asks junior brother Jang and junior sister Song to let the boy come to Danso once the trial ends. Elder Jang tells him they will do as senior brother says, and shakes his head with no interest in the argument. The performance was good, but the 3 of them are Purple Mansion elders, and one new disciple is not yet worth quarreling over. Inside the secret realm I know none of this, and I am tramping over hills and through gullies looking for tokens. After a long stretch of nothing I face the arithmetic. The tokens are small, they were scattered at random across an entire world, and at this rate the 10 days will end with me holding a handful. The efficiency is miserable, so I stop looking for tokens and start looking for people, which is a far easier search. Honest labor never keeps up with robbery. The moment that thought lands, the world opens up wide in front of me. I find a disciple soon enough, and I have my plan before he has seen anything. A straight fight is out, because even winning one gives the other party time to tear his teleportation talisman, and then only half his tokens come to me. Half is not what I want. I want all of them, and an ambush is both cleaner and safer. I go up a tree, fold my aura down to nothing, and wait until he is under me before I let the flowing cloud myriad forms out. The cloud chi runs out as one absurdly long silk scarf, and one end whips around him while the other covers his eyes. He gets half a cry out before the scarf takes his mouth too. I drop out of the tree almost without sound. He senses somebody coming anyway, which does him no good at all, since he is wrapped like a mummy and can only squirm on the forest floor. I find his storage pouch, erase the imprint on it, and empty it out. There are not many tokens in there, only a few. I take the tokens, tuck the pouch back where it belongs, and run. Once I am far enough away, the cloud chi dissolves on its own. Behind me, the man is still dazed when the scarf lets go. He sees his storage pouch lying beside him, snatches it up and checks it over, and everything he owns is still inside except the handful of tokens he spent days finding. A grown man ends up in tears over it. Being robbed is one thing, being blindsided is worse. Being blindsided without ever learning who did it is worse still. The longer he sits there, the more aggrieved he gets, because they are all disciples of one sect, and this is how an evil cultivator behaves. On the plaza, the 3 elders are staring. Elder Jang wonders aloud whether the boy was a mountain bandit before he tested into the sect. One of the others has to admit the movements were nimble, since the man was trussed up in the time it takes to blink. That command of the flowing cloud myriad forms really is not bad. Elder Saw of Danso Peak chuckles and adds that the boy worked steadily, took every token in one pass, and did not forget to cover the eyes. He has reached the stage where a man finds everything about his own disciple charming, since Jin Hyun is about to become one of his. Elder Jang and Elder Song both smile at that and let the subject drop. 3 days pass. The 3,000 inside the flowing cloud secret realm thin out, as several hundred get eliminated, or simply give up and walk out. Set against previous years, the number is small, and part of the credit belongs to me. Plenty of disciples meant to leave the moment they had a few tokens in hand. Then they had the bad luck to meet me and lost the lot. Nobody accepts that quietly, and with nothing left to protect, they reasoned that staying could hardly make things worse. So they stayed. Staying is good. Staying makes them a crop that grows back. Over those 3 days, I meet a great many disciples. Almost all of them sit at the first level of chi gathering, with the second rare enough to be worth noticing. Robbing them is embarrassingly easy, nor should anyone underestimate them. because finding tokens has as much to do with luck as with strength, and by the end of the third day, I am carrying over 300. I have also acquired a reputation. My victims have been generous with the news, and word is out that this year's intake includes a scheming scoundrel whose entire repertoire is ambushing his own sect brothers. Whether the fame is good or bad hardly matters. The fame soared. Nothing like it has happened before. The Flowing Cloud trial has run for many years, and there have always been a few who took tokens by ambush. Those men lacked the control over the Flowing Cloud myriad forms to do it cleanly, so their targets got eliminated and kept half. I do not eliminate anyone. I do not injure anyone. I take the tokens and leave, which leaves the victim grieving over his losses and quietly grateful he is still in the trial. For a disciple sitting on a large pile, that is harder to swallow than elimination, because elimination at least preserves half. Starting again from nothing, he may never find that many again, and whatever he does find, he may not get to keep. A man who kept half is in a different position entirely, since as long as he is still inside, there is still hope. Every disciple who hears the story turns cautious after that, and more of them start moving in groups, which accomplishes nothing. My methods are clean and efficient. One comes and I tie up a pair. 2 more days. By the halfway mark, every disciple left in the secret realm knows there is a devious scoundrel ambushing his own sect brothers. He is strong, and he only ties people up and takes their tokens. A few unlucky souls have been tied up twice, which is enough to drive a man out of his mind. In a cave I sit cross-legged on a stone as the spiritual chi around me shifts, and my cultivation steps from the 3rd level of chi gathering into the 4th. The chi inside the Flowing Cloud secret realm runs about as thick as it does at the Sect main hall. Either way, it beats 100 Herbs Valley, so 5 days was all the Flowing Cloud art needed. I have no idea that 3,000 light screens are hanging over the plaza, but I can guess the Sect elders are able to watch what happens in a secret realm they built. So for appearances, I made a point of sitting in meditation for a while before the breakthrough landed. Cultivation breakthrough complete. Resume operations. Out of the cave and hunting again, and the targets are getting scarce. A great many people have already been eliminated, and a fair number of them left because of me, tearing their teleportation talismans the moment they had scraped together a few more tokens. Losing half beats being caught a second time. They are genuinely traumatized. Most of the survivors now move in packs of 10 or more, and the rest are disciples strong enough to work alone. All 3 spirit bodies travel solo, and none of them worry about finding tokens, because a strong disciple never intended to find tokens. He intended to take them. On the 8th day, with the final 3 days beginning, the 100 disciples holding the most tokens get marked by a pillar of light stabbing up into the sky. That is the whole strategy for the strong ones. Wait until the map lights up, then go collect from whoever is carrying the most, by which point the survivors have accumulated enough to be worth robbing. As for why I began on the first day, the answer is that nobody told me. Senior brother Lee had already gone home, and Songdo of the Alchemy Hall never mentioned it, and neither of them thought for a moment that I might reach the top 100. 2 more days and my haul climbs to nearly 1,000 tokens. 1 token trades for 10 contribution points, so 1,000 of them is 10,000 contribution points, and that is before the ranking rewards. Barring disaster, I am about to make a fortune out of the Flowing Cloud trial. Midnight strikes on the 8th day, and outside the secret realm, Elder Jang activates the formation. In the next breath, pillars of light erupt from the heads of the 100 highest token holders and pierce the sky. On the plaza, a good number of the disciples I tied up are watching my screen and nothing else, and the sight of that pillar over my head has them laughing out loud. One of them wants to see how the tying goes now. Another says forget the tying, since carrying that beacon means people will come to him, and he hopes somebody teaches the man a harsh lesson. A third points out that it will be difficult, because they have watched me for days and the strength is real, and outside those 3 nobody is likely to beat me. A fourth counts the days left and figures those 3 will find me. Every one of them is looking forward to the moment I go down, which is fair enough, since anyone I tied up would feel the same. Outside the main hall, the 3 elders sit talking. Elder Jang observes with a smile that the boy has certainly provoked public outrage. Elder Saw chuckles that it does not matter, since those disciples are simply short on strength and have nobody else to blame. Then Elder Song raises something else. The boy broke through to the 4th level of Chi gathering 2 days ago, and no mortal body cultivator should move that fast. Either the initial testing was wrong, or there is a hidden physique nobody detected. Elder Jang considers it and answers that physique testing is done by the 10,000 Dao tablet handed down from the Holy Land. That tablet can pick out a hidden saintly body, so an error is unlikely. Elder Saw declines to dig any further and says that whatever the cause, good talent is a good thing. All 3 of them can feel that the boy has stumbled onto some kind of opportunity. Since he is about to belong to Danso Peak, Elder Song has no interest in anyone prying into his secrets. Elder Song lets it go. Inside the secret realm, I am standing under a column of light with no idea what it is or why it is coming out of my head. Then I see more of them going up in every direction. My first guess is that the pillars are marking the positions of everyone still inside, and my eyes light up. Because if that is true, it is not a problem at all. Do they really think a man who ambushes people only knows how to ambush people? My position is public and others may come for my tokens, but the reverse is far more useful to me. Competing for tokens just got easier, so I pick the nearest pillar and charge it. My guess is not quite right. Only the 100 with the most tokens are marked. Not everyone, though the correction hardly hurts me. Robbing the top 100 pays better anyway. Not far off, a disciple watches a pillar of light closing on him fast and does not panic. He draws his flowing cloud sword instead and holds a Dao technique ready to cast. He is at the 3rd level of chi gathering, and outside the 3 spirit bodies he fears nobody, and if the fight goes badly he can still run. If it turns out to be a spirit body, he will call it bad luck and move on. Then he gets a clear look at me, sees that I am not one of the 3, and feels his confidence come surging back. He cups his hands and introduces himself as Peng Ran of Cheongso Peak, and asks who I am. I tell him I am Li Bu of Yellow Maple Valley, which is a name and a place I have just invented, and I summon my flowing cloud sword while I say it. The longsword is already streaking across the gap at his face. Controlling an object at range takes the 4th level of chi gathering at minimum, and Peng Ran knows it. Nothing in the rumors said any new disciple this year had reached the 4th level except the 3 spirit bodies. Shocked as he is, he reacts fast and brings his longsword up to block. My flying sword arrives too fast and too hard for that. Steel rings against steel, his blade turns mine by a hair, and the force behind it leaves his arm numb and his body stumbling backward. That is all the opening I need. The flowing cloud myriad forms, turns the air around him into tough ribbons that come out like snakes leaving a cave, and while his feet are still wrong, they wrap him from shoulder to ankle. He gets out one muffled sound before he stops being able to move at all, and his eyes are full of refusal and disbelief. One exchange. Nobody expects to lose in one exchange. I do not linger. I find his storage pouch, take every token out of it, push the pouch back inside his robes, and the whole business takes a few breaths. Then I notice that the pillar of light above his head has gone out. That stops me for a moment. So the pillars do not mark everyone, and given the 200 and more tokens I just lifted off him, they must mark whoever is carrying a large count. My eyes gleam at that. If it is true, it is the best news I have had all trial. I sweep the horizon, pick the nearest pillar, and the flowing cloud moonstep takes me into the trees like wind. Out on the plaza, the disciples watching my screen have gone quiet. They had worked out that I was strong. They had not worked out that I was this strong, and none of them had ever seen me use a flying sword before. So the 4th level of chi gathering registers with the whole crowd at once, along with the possibility that I am the only disciple outside those 3 standing at it. Someone finally says aloud that even the 3 of them, 1 against 1, might not beat Li Bu. The fake name has taken root, since my victims never had reason to doubt it. Silence follows, because nobody in the crowd can honestly argue the point. Behind me in the forest, the clouds come apart and Peng Ran sits on the ground. Dazed, he had been hearing for days about a man who ambushes disciples and wraps them up like a mummy, and he had waved every telling of it away. Now he checks his storage pouch and finds not 1 token left, and it is genuinely heartbreaking, because that was over 200 tokens and over 2,000 contribution points. He gets up cursing the name Li Bu, and halfway through the cursing he freezes. Where exactly is Yellow Maple Valley? Does the sect even have that valley? He has never heard of it. Then again, he only joined 3 months ago and spent the months before that cultivating. There are surely corners of the sect he has not learned yet. He lets the question go, looks around, picks a pillar and sets off to chase it. 3 days remain, his tokens are gone, and giving up costs him both the tokens and the ranking, so his only option is to go rob somebody himself. Out on the plaza, none of the other new disciples catch it either. They all joined 3 months ago, and a name they do not recognize sounds perfectly ordinary. Most of them know only the Cloud C9 heavens by now, which are Sinso, Cheongso, Byokso, Danso, Jungso, Okso, Nangso, Jaso, and Taeso. They are also called the Cloud C9 peaks, the 9 great branches of the sect and its core, and every hall and valley in the sect hangs beneath one of them. Outside the main hall, Elder Jiang watches the exchange and remarks with a smile that the boy is genuinely interesting. Elder Sa answers rather quickly that his junior brother is not to compete with him for this one. Elder Jiang shakes his head, still smiling, and tells him to rest easy, since he does not go back on his word. Inside the secret realm, everything gets easier for me. For days, the hard part was locating people at all, and now I find them precisely every time, and every one I find is carrying a heavy pouch. The routine settles fast, a flying sword strike, an opening, the binding, the tokens, and gone. One target takes me about an hour, and the hour is almost entirely travel. At the 4th level of chi gathering, going without sleep for a few days cost me nothing, so I plan to spend all 3 of the remaining days hunting. The 10th day arrives. The trial closes tomorrow at mid-morning, when everyone still inside gets teleported out, so I push the pace harder. I am running down a pillar of light when the pillar notices me and does something none of the others have done. It stops running and comes at me instead. I like this kind of fellow disciple. Very considerate. We meet in the open, and I know him on sight. Shim Sing Ha, one of the 3 spirit bodies, carrying the mystic water spirit body, which suits the Cloud Sea Sect's arts unusually well. He does not bother with introductions and sends his flying sword straight at me. I drive my flowing cloud sword out to meet it, and the 2 blades come together with a hard metallic ring. He is visibly startled to find another disciple at the 4th level of chi gathering. Then he stops being startled and gets serious. I keep my flying sword locked with his, and set the flowing cloud myriad forms loose at the same time. Cloud fills the space between us and condenses into cloud swords that come at him from 4 directions at once. He answers fast, casting his own Dao technique, and cloud gathers around his body and hardens into cloud swords of his own to meet mine. He tells me in a low voice that my flowing cloud myriad forms is very powerful, and he can feel it in the density and edge of what I am throwing at him. His mystic water spirit body adds its own bonus to the same technique, and even with that he is only holding a draw. I answer that the same goes for him, and I do not stop my hands while I say it. My cloud swords keep changing their angles of approach while the flowing cloud sword hammers him from the front, and the pressure builds until his proficient opponent starts to tell. He cannot parry all of it. He slides into disadvantage, and the disadvantage costs him his composure for exactly 1 moment. That moment is mine. The flowing cloud sword accelerates, knocks his flying sword aside, and goes for his face, and he dodges in a scramble that leaves him disheveled and unbalanced. Silk scarves of cloud chi rise out of the ground under his feet without a sound and take his legs. By the time he registers them, they are already winding upward and his movement is gone. He struggles, and the scarves are too tough to break. I give him no time at all, and more of them pour in from every direction until he is bound head to foot. Shim Seong Ha is not like the other disciples though. Bound is not the same as helpless for a man who can still control a sword. He has worked out by now that I am the one the whole secret realm has been talking about. He does not intend to lose everything. This is the final day, and if all his tokens go now, he will never find half that many in the hours left, so losing half is the better trade. Then he does the thing I do not see coming. He turns his own flowing cloud sword around and drives it into himself. I try to intercept the blade, and I am far too slow. The Grand Array catches the strike and teleports him out of his secret realm before it lands. He really went through with it. I knew the array wards off a fatal blow and pulls the victim clear, and I still would not test that unless I had no choice, because arrays have been known to fail. Half the tokens in his storage pouch vanish as he goes, and several hundred of them fall out of the air in front of me. He had not spent the last 3 days sitting still either. I gather every one of them up. In the square, the crowd finds it hard to credit that Shim Seong Ha is out. Someone says the man's strength is terrifying, since Shim Seong Ha matched him in cultivation, carried the mystic water spirit body, and still lost. Another argues that the Dao techniques have a strange part, because that level of mastery is far beyond theirs, and suggests an extremely high comprehension. A third goes back to the same unanswered question, which is where Yellow Maple Valley is, and which peak it belongs to, and whether anybody has managed to find out yet. Shim Seng Ha himself, once he is out, goes over to stand near my light screen and watch. Back inside, I count what is in my storage pouch and land on roughly 4,000 tokens. Anyone who saw that pile would need a moment, since only 10,000 tokens were released into the entire Flowing Cloud trial, and I am holding 2/5 of them. There is still time on the clock, so I go back to hunting pillars. The next one I lock onto does not charge me the way Shim Sung Ha did. It runs, as if that were an option. At the 4th level of Chi Gathering, on my White Cloud magical artifact, nothing short of the other 2 spirit bodies is outrunning me. I close the gap fast. On a white cloud ahead of me, Peng Ran looks back. Our eyes meet, and his face locks up as he recognizes Li Bu. The next expression on it belongs to a man who has just seen a ghost. I laugh and ask whether that is not senior brother Peng, and where he is off to in such a hurry. Honestly, I am impressed. Robbed clean once and he still clawed his way back into the top 100. He shouts at me in open terror to stop chasing him, because he has only just scraped those tokens together and cannot afford to lose them again. I tell him to stop running, and my flying sword is already out. Whether he senses the danger or simply refuses to relive it, he pulls his teleportation talisman and crushes it on the spot. He is laughing as he goes, shouting that Li Bu still wants to tie him up and take everything. He can dream, and forfeiting beats letting me have my way twice. Then he is gone. He tore the talisman himself, but Elder Zhang was holding the Grand Array, and judged from the state of things that Peng Ran had been beaten. Half of Peng Ran's tokens drop into the grass at my feet. I smile and shake my head at that. Fine. Half is still half. I pocket them and move to the next target. Mid-morning the following day, the Flowing Cloud trial ends, and everyone still inside gets pulled out. I land in the square of the Sect main hall, and a great many eyes come to rest on me. all of them belonging to people I robbed. Roughly 100 at a glance. If the trial had run longer than 10 days, the number would have been 10 or 20 times that. The three elders rise and appear before the crowd. Elder Jang waves a hand that draws 100 disciples off the stone and carries them to the front, the top 100 of this year's trial. He announces that the trial has come to a perfection conclusion and that the disciples of every branch displayed the character of the sect. His gaze rests on me for about 2 seconds while he says it. Then he tells us the path of cultivation is long and full of obstacles. He hopes we will stay neither arrogant nor impetuous, as graceful as shifting clouds and as steady as mountains. Our hearts turn toward the great Tao. The pleasantries end and the rewards begin. Elder Jang calls out for Jin Hyun of 100 Herbs Valley. I step forward, cup my hands, and answer that this disciple is here, and 100 pairs of eyes go wide around me. Somebody wants to know why the man who introduced himself as Lee Bu of Yellow Maple Valley is answering to another name entirely. As expected of the most shameless disciple of this year's intake. He gave a fake name. Elder Jang states the count out loud, that Jin Hyun of 100 Herbs Valley took first place with 4,572 tokens. He waves his hand, and the whole pile streams out of my storage pouch for a moment of display before flowing back in. Then he produces the reward for first place. 3 jade plaques and 10 bottles of first-tier top-grade chi gathering pills, and sends them drifting over to me. The plaques match in style, and the words cut into them read top-grade magical artifact, top-tier Dao technique, and 10,000 contribution points. He tells me to take the 3 plaques to the equipment hall, the Dao Arts building, and the contribution hall to redeem them. The 4,000 and more tokens can be converted at the contribution hall as well. I cup my hands and thank him and put the rewards away. I am about to step back when Elder Sa, standing beside him, calls my name and asks whether I am willing to join Danso Peak. I cup my hands again and answer that this disciple is willing. How could I possibly be unwilling? 100 Herbs Valley is a hole with the spiritual chi of a dry well, and if I turned this down, the flowing cloud art would throw a tantrum that lasted a decade. Elder Sa nods, pleased, and tells me to go pack my things at the valley, since he will arrange for someone to collect me. I answer that I will. Elder Jang moves on down the line. First place was mine, and second and third go to the other 2 spirit body cultivators, a man and a woman I never once ran into across the whole 10 days. Both of them looked mildly surprised that I came out on top, since everyone expected this year's top 3 to be the 3 spirit bodies. Then Shim Sung-ha ran into me, and that single meeting dropped him out of the top 3 and into the top 10, where the rewards are meaningfully smaller. He takes the loss gracefully all the same, and holds nothing against me. All he can really do is call it bad luck. The last of the top 100 rewards go out and the flowing cloud trial is officially finished. The 3 elders leave first and the crowd starts breaking up. Shim Sung-ha comes over and tells me that Brother Jin is welcome at Taeso Peak anytime he has the leisure for it, and I answer politely that I certainly will. He takes his leave. Too many people are still staring at me, so I go as well. I am not far out of the square in my white cloud when someone catches up. I assume it is another new disciple and find Songdu instead, so I stop and cut my hands. He looks at me with a strange expression on his face, because he cannot get his head around it. The man he personally escorted out to 100 Herbs Valley took first place in the Flowing Cloud trial and is now transferring to Danso Peak. His own alchemy hall is only a branch beneath that same peak. A 9 peaks disciple outranks an alchemy hall disciple, and he knows it. He sighs and says that junior brother Jin kept him in the dark very effectively. I smile and tell him I hid nothing, and that he simply never asked about my strength. He has no answer to that, because he really never asked. He had assumed without examining it that a man stuck in 100 Herbs Valley would be at the first level of chi gathering. Instead, I came out at the 4th, which is spirit body pace. He also knows what the ground there is like, having been there himself, and where a new disciple would hear that and shrug. Songdu understands exactly what it means. Had I spent those 3 months anywhere else, he figures I would be pushing the late stage of chi gathering by now we're standing in it. At that speed, forget spirit body, since that is king body pace. So I cup my hands and thank him for telling me as much about the trial as he did beforehand. He only handed me information, but information counts. He waves it off, a little embarrassed, and says that it was no more than he owed me, then tells me not to let him hold me up and to go pack. I thank him again and lift away on my white cloud. 100 Herbs Valley has almost nothing in it worth packing, and the odds and ends go into my storage pouch in a couple of minutes. Then I stand in the courtyard and look the place over. 3 months is not long, and I have still grown fond of it. It is a good little valley, quiet in a way I like, and its only real failing is the thinness of the spiritual chi. I sit down in the courtyard and wait a while. A woman on a white cloud comes down into the yard, and her robes mark her as a Spirit Sea Realm disciple. The Cloud Sea Sect sorts disciples into 3 grades: Outer Sect at the Chi Gathering Realm, Inner Sect at the Spirit Sea Realm, and core disciples at the Tao Foundation realm. The 3 uniforms are different enough that nobody has to guess. I stand and cup my hands and greet her as senior sister. She tells me there is no need for the formality and gives her name as Gang Jiang. Her master sent her to bring me up to the peak, and she asks whether I have finished packing. She has the manner of someone easy to be around. I tell her everything is packed. She takes out her own white cloud magical artifact and invites me to ride it with her. Hers only resembles mine at a glance. Since the shape is different and more to the point, hers is top grade. I step aboard. Her speed is startling, and the cloud is clear of 100 Herbs Valley almost before I have found my footing on it. She asks whether I would like to exchange my trial rewards first, and I tell her I will have to trouble her for it. She says it is no trouble at all and turns us toward the contribution hall. I can see people coming and going before we land, some of them this year's disciples, in for the same reason I am. Gang Guiyang walks me inside and handles the exchange of my jade plaques and tokens for contribution points. The Count visibly shakes her. She knew nothing about this year's flowing cloud trial, since her master Elder Sa only told her to collect whichever disciple placed first and settle him into Danso Peak. Hearing that, the first place disciple came out of 100 Herbs Valley had already surprised her. She still underestimated me, because over 4,000 tokens is not a number a normal disciple produces. The contribution hall disciples stare at the pile too. They only recognize plaques and tokens though, so wherever it came from, they convert the lot into contribution points and transfer them into my disciple token. We leave for the equipment hall next. It stands close enough to the Tao Arts building that we walk instead of flying. On the way, Gang Yang asks about me out of plain curiosity, mostly about how one disciple ended up holding that many tokens. I hide nothing and answer whatever she asks. She clicks her tongue when I finish and calls it impressive. Truly impressive, and says it is no wonder her master wanted me on Danso Peak. Then she gets to business and asks whether I have any thoughts about the magical artifact and the Tao technique I am owed. I ask whether she has any advice. She answers with a question of her own, which is whether I know the one major difference between Danso disciples and the disciples of the other peaks. I offer that most Danso disciples are skilled in alchemy. She confirms it, and points out that since I have joined Danso I might consider learning alchemy myself, and that if I intend to, the Tao technique to pick is the spirit-devouring mysterious fire. It is excellent for alchemy, she says, and its raw power is nothing to dismiss either. I turn that over as we walk, and I do want to learn alchemy. My cultivation technique cultivates itself, and with enough supplies feeding it the speed would climb another tier, so refining my own medicinal pills means never running short again. There is a second reason too. A fire attribute Tao technique that has been spirit awakened will grind its own proficiency like the others, and rising proficiency in that particular art feeds straight back into the alchemy. So I ask her whether the spirit-devouring mysterious fire is the best top-tier fire attribute Tao technique the sect holds. Gang Young looks pleased that the interest is real. She is an alchemist herself, and between that and the whole atmosphere of Danso, she thinks better of Danso disciples who want to learn the craft. She confirms it and adds that the technique is extremely special, since it does exactly what its name says and devours and refines other flames. The claim she repeats is that if it refines flames strong enough, or simply enough of them, its power ends up comparable to a genuine Supreme Tao technique. That moves me. Her recommendation beats picking blind off a shelf, and since alchemy is decided, the choice is decided with it. Top tier is top tier regardless. We talk about other things until we reach the Tao Arts building, where she stops and waits outside. An old man stands guard at the entrance, and according to Gang Yang, he is also a Purple Mansion elder. I bow properly and hold up the jade plaque cut with the words Top Tier Tao Technique. He nods, and only then do I go in. The inside opens out to a size the outside does not account for, which means a spatial formation. Rows of tall shelves stand in ranks, packed with Tao Technique jade slips, each one wrapped in a faint halo of spiritual power. The whole building carries a weight of Tao rhyme in the air. 4 floors, holding low-grade, intermediate, advanced, and top-tier techniques from the bottom up. The sect surely owns Supreme Tao techniques somewhere, but not here. I go straight to the 4th floor and read the slips until I find the spirit-devouring mysterious fire. It is a crimson jade slip floating alone inside a dedicated light barrier, flame patterns shimmering faintly across its surface, giving off heat that is somehow being held on a leash. I press the jade plaque against the barrier, and the plaque dissolves into light and sinks in. Ripples run out across the barrier quietly comes apart, and the slip drops into my palm. It is warm to the touch, like carrying a handful of sleeping fire. I open it, and the whole content of the technique brands itself directly into my mind. An entire top-tier Tao technique imprinted in a few breaths. Then the slip flies back to its place and the barrier closes over it again. A genuinely mysterious art. I go downstairs satisfied, bow to the elder at the door, and step outside, where Gang Young asks whether I took the spirit-devouring mysterious fire. I smile and thank her for the guidance. She waves it off and says every Danso Peak disciple who learns alchemy picks that one whenever a top-tier choice comes their way, then tells me the equipment hall is next. She advises me on the walk over. My first thought had been an alchemy furnace, since a man cannot refine pills without equipment. But she tells me every Danso Peak disciple is issued a top-grade pill furnace on joining the peak. It goes back to Danso when a disciple no longer needs it and gets passed down to the next one. So the furnace I receive will almost certainly be somebody's hand-me-down. New or not, it will be good and it will work. And I do not particularly care how old my cookware is. So I settle on a defensive magical artifact instead. For attack, I have the Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms, the Spirit-Devouring Mysterious Fire as of an hour ago, and a Flowing Cloud Sword that is only medium grade but still a sword. For running away, I have the Flowing Cloud Moonstep. Defense is the one hole in the set. The Myriad Forms can throw up a shield wall, but it is a utility art before it is a shield. At the equipment hall, arriving with Gang Gyeong is plainly not the same as arriving alone. The disciples there do not risk a careless answer and bring out the 3 best top-grade defensive magical artifacts on their shelves. The first is the Profound Spirit Armor, forged from 100-year-old profound iron blended with deep-sea cold silver. 3 layers of defensive formations cut into the inside. It throws up a close-fitting spiritual light shield, able to eat a full-strength blow from a Tao Foundation realm cultivator. The second is the Gold Thread Cloud Pattern Shield, framed in gold thread spiritual wood and faced with cloth woven from Fire Cloud silkworm silk. Cloud patterns run across it, and it weakens any Tao technique that strikes it. The third is the 5-colored Spiritual Light Handkerchief, which looks like nothing at all and is woven from spiritual silk of 5 attributes. It unfolds into a 5-colored light screen that turns force aside and neutralizes energy, especially good against elemental attacks and easy to trigger. All 3 are remarkable. I look them over carefully and pick up the Profound Spirit Armor, and I tell the disciple that this is my choice and hand over the plaque. He takes it without any opinion on the matter and returns the other 2 to their places. We leave, and I put the Profound Spirit Armor into my storage pouch without hurrying to refine it or put it on. It is light armor, honestly closer to a slightly thick vest, and I intend to wear it every day from now on, since it will not interfere with anything I do. With the errands done, Gang Gyeong finally takes me to Danso Peak. As one of the Cloud C9 heavens, it climbs straight into the clouds, with its range running out past sight, and the setting alone beats 100 Herbs Valley. The spiritual chi is the part that matters, and the spiritual chi here is thick enough to lean on. The flowing cloud art starts cheering before I have set foot on the stone. It is excited, it wants to stay here forever, it says, and it wants the record to show that its useless host has finally stopped holding it back. I thank it, because what else is there to say? Gang Gyeong walks me around the peak once, briefly. She names Danso Square as the largest square on the mountain, where every major event is held, and points up at the main hall, which she says nobody goes to often. The long row of buildings are the pill rooms, with an earth fire running beneath them that disciples draw on for alchemy. She notes I will not need it, since the spirit-devouring mysterious fire outclasses an earth fire by a wide margin. Off in the other direction stand the lecture hall and the affairs hall. Every month the Tao Foundation realm senior brother or senior sister, sometimes even a Purple Mansion realm elder, comes through to work on the hard parts of the Tao of alchemy. She tells me to attend often. We do not go into detail anywhere, since I can learn the ground at my own pace. The affairs hall comes last. My disciple token gets traded for a Danso disciple token, and I walk out with new Danso outer sect robes, a formation plate, and a top-grade pill furnace. It is the one in the best condition on the rack, because Gang Gyeong steered me to it. Then she takes me to my residence. Outer and inner sect disciples of Danso Peak all live in the disciple area along the mountainside, and the location is excellent. Every disciple gets an independent courtyard with a formation over it that the formation plate controls. She stops at the entrance and says she will be going, and I cup my hands and thank her again for the day. She smiles and waves it away, telling me to put my attention on cultivation, since at my speed and with Danso Peak underfoot I should reach the Spirit Sea realm before long. If cultivation confuses me, or alchemy raises questions, she says, I already know where she lives and should come find her. I nod, and she lifts away on her white cloud. Her residence is not far from mine, which does not look like an accident. Elder Sa is turning over the idea of taking me as his own disciple, and has decided he wants to watch me a while longer. He means to raise it once my cultivation breaks into the Spirit Sea. I use the formation plate to open the formation and walk into the courtyard. It is spacious, laid out with an elegant little landscape of rock and water, and it is genuinely nice. The main building holds a hall, a bedroom, and a study, with a pill room and a kitchen along the east side. Cultivators hardly ever cook, and the kitchen could be converted into something useful, but I cannot be bothered, so it stays a kitchen. I close the formation behind me and begin working through the spirit-devouring mysterious fire in my mind. 3 days later, I am sitting cross-legged on the bed, when the fire attribute spiritual chi of heaven and earth starts gathering into my core. A green flame catches there and pulls itself into the shape of a small fire snake, and a flash of understanding hands me its name. Green Snake Flame. The spirit-devouring mysterious fire works by having its practitioner condense a mysterious fire of his own, which takes a physical form at birth, and the stronger that form is, the stronger the fire. A snake is average. I am a little let down and not much more than that. The whole point of this technique is devouring and refining other flames, so even a green snake flame can climb to the strongest mysterious fire in the world. The road is simply longer than it would be from a better starting shape. Besides, I have my cheat. I am curious what Spirit Awakening will do to a flame, so I bring up the panel. My realm reads the 4th level of Chi Gathering with 2 Spirit Awakening points banked. The Flowing Cloud art sits Spirit Awakened. Under Tao techniques, the Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and the Flowing Cloud Moonstep both read Proficient in Spirit Awakened, with the Green Snake Flame beneath them at entry level and not Spirit Awakened. The name changed itself, incidentally. The moment the mysterious fire condensed, the line that read Spirit Devouring Mysterious Fire became the Green Snake Flame. I do not dwell on it, and one thought spends the point. The Green Snake Flame comes awake extremely dissatisfied with its own power. A golden scale was never a creature of some pond, it declares, and wind and cloud will make a dragon of it yet. Then the system tells me it has begun actively plundering the fire attribute spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and in the next breath the flame leaves my core and starts drinking the air dry. Ordinarily, a mysterious fire cannot change its shape once the shape has set, and the only road upward is devouring other flames. Mine is not behaving ordinarily, and the reason is that every other practitioner's mysterious fire has the form without the spirit. Mine is actually alive. Wrapped in chi thick enough to see, the green snake flame goes into a full metamorphosis. The green burns off into purple and something in the middle of it roars. What finishes the change is a small purple dragon whose roar is loud enough to startle me off the bed. The system confirms it, reporting that my green snake flame has evolved into the purple imperial dragon flame. The flame announces itself with a line about the great rock riding the wind and climbing 90,000 miles. It circles me a few times and settles back into my body. It really can change its form. The gap in power between a green snake flame and a purple imperial dragon flame is not a step, but 2 different worlds. If it can evolve once, everything after this gets easier. So I ask it inwardly whether a flame that evolves on its own can also raise its own power on its own. The answer comes back as a flat no. Fair enough. Becoming the purple imperial dragon flame at all is already more than I paid for. The evolution happened for a specific reason. The spirit-devouring mysterious fire could always have condensed into something stronger from the start, and it only came out as a snake because my talent was not up to it. Spirit Awakening simply corrected for what I lacked, and let the form settle where it should have. Strengthening a mysterious fire still works the same way for everyone, which is devouring special flames, the one road to a stronger origin. The purple imperial dragon flame needs to eat like any other. The difference is that mine has a mind now, which will make the eating smoother and considerably less work for me. If my cultivation were stronger, it could even leave my body entirely, range far from the sect hunting flames, and grow on its own. At the chi gathering realm, I should not even let myself think about it. The panel updates one more time. The purple imperial dragon flame's hunger to grow stronger is burning, and it has started nagging my cultivation technique to hurry up and cultivate. The flowing cloud trial is over, and the reward for first place is sitting in my storage pouch. 10 pills to a bottle, 100 pills in all. The chi gathering pill is the medicinal pill best suited to raising the spiritual chi of a cultivator in the chi gathering realm, and I intend to use every last one. So I shut the door of my cultivation room and settle in for a stretch of secluded cultivation. I pour out a single pill first, because I want to see what a medicinal pill does while the flowing cloud art is running. The pill goes down, the medicinal power turns into spiritual chi almost before it lands, and the art takes hold and converts the whole of it into mine. Then the flowing cloud art cheers in my chest like a man at a banquet and asks me outright for a few more of the good stuff. That gives me pause, because by every rule I have ever read, even a low-grade chi gathering pill takes a cultivator real time to refine. I have just finished off a top-grade one in the space of a single breath, but the art has never led me wrong yet, and I did feel that pill come apart the instant it hit my stomach. So I keep eating them, one at a time, waiting until the last pill is fully absorbed before I reach for the next. The wait is never long. Every pill dissolves into cultivation the moment it goes down, and my cultivation starts climbing in a way that ought to be against the rules. The 5th level of chi gathering arrives, then the 6th, then the 7th, and by the time I look up from the empty bottles, all 10 are gone. I sat down at the 4th level of chi gathering, and I have reached the 7th without once getting up. Popping pills is a great deal more satisfying than I expected. I am definitely learning alchemy. It makes sense once I stop being astonished by it. The flowing cloud art carried me to the 3rd level of chi gathering in 3 months at 100 Herbs Valley, on thin spiritual chi and almost no resources. Here the spiritual chi is dense, and the pills are top grade, so it would be far stranger if the absorption had slowed down instead. The boost finally runs dry. I take out the profound spirit armor, refine it properly, put it on, and go looking for alchemy. The library pavilion on Danso Peak holds no cultivation techniques and no Dao techniques at all. It is books and jade slips, every one of them about alchemy, and the beginner volumes are shelved together so that disciples can teach themselves the groundwork. That groundwork is the point, since without it I could sit in the lecture hall for a year and not follow a word. I find the basic section, settle in, and open a thin volume titled Introduction to Pillfire. Before I am 3 pages in, the purple imperial dragon flame lets me know that it is studying the Introduction to Pillfire. I sit very still for a moment. The purple imperial dragon flame has a mind now, and alchemy is worked through the purple imperial dragon flame, which means the thing that actually needs to learn alchemy in this room is not me. The catch is that a flame living in my core cannot walk into a library pavilion and turn pages by itself, so someone still has to sit here and read. That someone is me, and I decide I can live with the arrangement. So I read the Introduction to Pillfire cover to cover, without skipping. The moment I close it, the purple imperial dragon flame reports that it has mastered the book, and the knowledge lands in my head a heartbeat behind the report. Fire control and judging the intensity of a flame both settle into me as though I had spent a year on them. It works. My cheat is genuinely, gloriously useful. I borrow the rest of the shelf. Record of 100 herbs, compendium of spirit medicines, general explanation of medicinal properties, true interpretation of plants and trees, the opening chapter of the Cloud Sea Pill Canon, and collection of common pill formulas. With the Introduction to Pillfire that makes 7 books, the set Danso Peak recommends to any disciple who wants to learn alchemy, and every one of them is still only the introductory basics. No craft in the world is mastered quickly. I carry the whole stack back to my residence and start turning pages, deliberately not reading closely, just flipping through each volume once. The record of 100 herbs is mastered before I reach the end of it, and its entire contents print themselves into my mind. Time to grind. The rest go the same way, one after another, faster than I can turn the pages. The purple imperial dragon flame takes the compendium of spirit medicines, and then the general explanation of medicinal properties. After those come the true interpretation of plants and trees, the opening chapter of the Cloud Sea Pill Canon, and the collection of common pill formulas. When the last book closes, the flame announces that it has mastered first-grade alchemy, and then adds, almost as an afterthought, that so have I. The whole business has taken half an hour. Knowledge floods into me in one heavy wave, and I come out of it an alchemist. Not a first-grade low-grade alchemist either, a first-grade top-grade one. Between what the purple imperial dragon flame can do, and a cultivation at the late stage of chi gathering, I can already attempt first-grade top-grade pills. What I need now is materials, and a great many of them. Enough medicinal pills gets me to chi gathering perfection, and chi gathering perfection gets me ready for the breakthrough into the spirit sea realm. Cloud Sea Peak. It is not one of the 9 peaks, but nobody in the sect would call it lesser. The Sect Great Hall and the Sect Plaza stand here, along with the Dao Arts Building and the Cultivation Method Tower, the Alchemy Hall, the Equipment Hall, and the Contribution Hall. The peak sits at the very front of the Cloud Sea Sect, and a short way north at the foot of the mountain is the main gate. A sect market wraps the eastern, southern, and western sides of the base, and that market is where I am going. The sect market is large and extremely busy. A disciple can spend the sect's contribution points here, or spend spirit stones, which are the hard currency everyone actually wants. I have no spirit stones whatsoever. I have contribution points coming out of my ears. I find a shop selling spirit medicines, walk in, and tell the middle-aged man behind the counter that I need materials for chi gathering pills. Every shop here is run by a disciple of the Cloud Sea sect, so he is a senior brother as much as a merchant. He asks how much I need. 50 sets, I tell him, after a moment of arithmetic. One set of materials, refined perfectly, yields 12 top-grade chi gathering pills at best. I am at the 7th level of chi gathering, and going by how far the last 100 pills carried me, another 30 bottles should put me at chi gathering perfection. 30 bottles means 300 top-grade chi gathering pills, and 300 pills means 25 sets of materials. That, of course, is the perfect world, where not a single batch of chi gathering pills goes wrong. Confident as I am in my alchemy and in the purple imperial dragon flame, I would rather buy double and be wrong in the safe direction. Leftovers are not a loss anyway. Alchemy is not only a way to raise a cultivation, it is a way to make money, and a craft mastered well enough is very profitable. Besides, I have an obscene number of contribution points, so the price of materials is the last thing I need to worry about. 50 sets stops the shop owner where he stands. He recovers, says he will go and fetch them, and does not say much else about it. Soon he comes back with 50 sets of key gathering pill materials, and it is a genuinely enormous pile of goods. I take out my disciple token, transfer the contribution points, and pack everything into my storage pouch. He sees me off with a smile and wishes me safe travels. Since 50 sets moved in, one sale is a good day for him. I am in no hurry to head back, so I walk the market instead. This is my first time here since joining the sect. I never came before because I had neither spirit stones nor contribution points, and looking without buying is a poor way to spend an afternoon. Besides the shops, there are stalls along the roadside, and the noise of the street is genuinely cheerful. Senior brothers and senior sisters stand behind those stalls hawking their wares exactly like vendors in the mortal world. That is not nothing, since a cultivator generally guards his reputation far more jealously than any mortal does. These ones have decided that spirit stones matter more than pride. Magic treasure fragments, going cheap. Rare pill formulas for any interested senior brother or senior sister. A supreme Tao technique for only 100 spirit stones. That last one stops me for exactly as long as it takes to decide it is a fraud. Sure enough, a voice from somewhere down the row shouts that nobody should believe him. The man has found a low-level Tao technique with the word supreme sitting in its name, and he has been selling it on that alone. The resentment in the voice is thick enough to stand a spoon in. Somebody got taken, and recently, I keep walking and browsing purely for the spectacle, right up until I pass an unremarkable stall. Flowing Cloud Moonstep starts shouting inside my head like a child dragged past a candy cellar, saying over and over that it wants that. A Tao technique has never done this to me before. I stop where I am and look the goods over, the way a man stops when a table catches his eye. There are a dozen and more items laid out. I ask, silently, which one? The stall owner sees a customer looking and gets to work at once, holding up an extremely powerful medium-grade magical artifact. After that comes a first-grade, top-grade talisman, a flight talisman rare enough to let a chi-gathering cultivator fly for a short while. I let all of it go in one ear and out the other, and wait on Flowing Cloud Moonstep, which answers with no patience at all that it means the scroll. That scroll. My eyes go to the only scroll on the table, and I ask the owner what it is. A Tao intent map, he says. Another rare treasure, and one whose value is not low. Then he asks whether I know that a Tao technique cultivated to perfection can condense a Tao seal, and I nod, because I do. Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms mentioned it once in passing, and I went and looked it up afterward. A Tao seal is condensed inside the body, and its benefits are considerable. Activating a Tao technique through a Tao seal costs less spiritual power and produces greater power, and it allows the technique to be cast instantly. My own Tao techniques already cast instantly now that they have minds of their own. There is more to it than speed. A technique with a Tao seal never grows rusty and never gets forgotten, so a cultivator beaten into amnesia could still use it straight from the seal. And a cultivator whose spiritual power has run dry can have the Tao seal borrow heaven and earth spiritual chi for a short while and cast anyway. That last one is exactly why Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms swore to condense a Tao seal after the Flowing Cloud art cut off its supply. With a seal of its own, it could hold the Flowing Cloud art down without touching my spiritual power at all. Those are the uses I know about, and the way this senior brother is talking, there are others. He goes on. A Tao Intent map is made by a cultivator who has already mastered a Tao seal, and it carries the Tao Intent that seal imprinted into it. Study the map and a cultivator's comprehension of that Tao technique deepens, though only of that one technique and no other. Then comes the drawback. The Tao is not achieved through the hands of another, so anyone who leans on a Tao Intent map will never condense a Tao seal of his own once he brings that technique to perfection. This particular map, he tells me, holds Flowing Cloud Moon Chase, which is a top-tier Tao technique, flaws in the map notwithstanding. Then his sales voice drops away and he admits the honest problem. Precisely because it is a top-tier technique, the thing will not sell. The disciples in the sect who can learn Flowing Cloud Moon Chase are chosen geniuses, and a chosen genius will not cripple his own future Tao seal. Disciples of ordinary talent have no such pride, but they can rarely afford to exchange for a top-tier technique in the first place. He has been sitting on it for months, and he says, with real weariness, that if only it were a map for Flowing Cloud Moonstep, it would have been gone the first week. That leaves me with the same question I started with. Why does Flowing Cloud Moonstep want a map for Flowing Cloud Moon Chase? The two are said to come from the same lineage, both simplified out of a single supreme Tao technique whose name I have never learned. Flowing Cloud Moon Chase is simply the better version of what I already practice. But for a cultivator practicing Flowing Cloud Moonstep, a Moon Chase map is worthless. If it were not worthless, this stall owner would not still be holding it. Still, Flowing Cloud Moonstep wants it, and Flowing Cloud Moonstep does not want things for no reason. So I ask him what he plans to charge. He is stunned for a moment and then visibly delighted. He starts to say that he can go a little cheaper for a junior brother. Then he adds that a Tao Intent map of a top-tier Tao technique is, after all, exactly that, and the price reflects it. I cut that off. By his own account, the thing will not move. I remind him, and my funds are thin, so if he names a number that is too high, I will simply give up and walk away. I am willing to buy it, just not for a mountain of contribution points, even though the mountain is real. First place in the Flowing Cloud trial plus the points from over 4,000 tokens left me with more than 50,000. His face stiffens. He sighs and tells me to name the price myself. 100 contribution points, I say, since he did ask. He nearly comes off his stool. 100 contribution points, he says, might buy a Dao intent map for a low-level Dao technique, and he asks me not to make jokes. But he wants this sailed badly. After a silence, he offers 3,000 contribution points or 3,000 spirit stones, and swears it cannot go lower, because acquiring the map cost him 2,000 in the first place. I answer that I have no intention of making him lose money, and that 2,500 sounds like a number we can both live with. I am not in any hurry. A Dao intent map is surely not the only one of its kind in the world. He thinks about it, then he sighs, pushes the map into my hands and tells me to take it and go. I thank him, transfer 2,500 contribution points off my disciple token, and walk away with the scroll while Flowing Cloud Moonstep vibrates with impatience the entire length of the street. There is nothing else here I want. I call up my white cloud magic tool and write it out of the market. Back in my room, I unroll the map on the table. Using one is simple, since all the cultivator does is look at it. The catch is that a Dao rhyme inside it has been absorbed. The map dissipates on its own. For anyone who has not learned the matching Dao technique, staring at it does nothing at all. Whether it does anything for me is a question I cannot answer standing here, so I open the scroll. Flowing Cloud Moonstep tells me it has begun to comprehend the Flowing Cloud Moon Chase Dao intent map. What comes with that is not a report at all, just a single line, clouds moving with the wind, and a man moving with his heart. Then it says something I had never heard a Dao technique say. It tells me it is completing itself, refining itself, filling in what it lacks. I go still. That phrasing belongs to the purple imperial dragon flame and to the night it evolved, and the guess forms in my chest before I can talk myself out of it. 1 second later, the guess stops being a guess. Flowing Cloud Moonstep is gone, and what I am carrying is Flowing Cloud Moon Chase. I say something out loud that a disciple of a top-tier sect should probably not say. Then I tell it sincerely that it is magnificent. The magnificence lasts about as long as it takes for a fight to break out. Flowing Cloud Moon Chase, freshly promoted and drunk on it, goes straight for Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms to settle the score for being made the little brother that day. Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms puts it down without apparent effort. Then Flowing Cloud Moon Chase is begging, calling Myriad Forms big brother, insisting the whole thing was a joke and that it was wrong. I have to work at not laughing out loud in an empty room. A movement technique is a movement technique, top tier or not, and picking a fight with something that does everything was never going to end another way. The advancement itself, though, is a genuine gift. Exchanging for Flowing Cloud Moon Chase through the Sect would have cost a frightening number of contribution points, and I got there for 2,500 in an afternoon of haggling. That raises a much larger question. If a Dao technique can climb like that, then my cultivation techniques can too, and there is certainly something above the Flowing Cloud art. My 3 top-tier Dao techniques might one day advance into supreme ones. That is not a thing to chase in a single day, but at least I now know the shape of the road, and the road is paved with Dao intent maps. Flowing Cloud Moonstep finished its climb on the back of a moon chase map, and the reason it went so smoothly is probably that the 2 techniques were kin to begin with. I stopped turning it over after that. If any of my techniques senses an opening, it will tell me, loudly, the way it did today, and until then I can let things take their own course. The map has not dissipated, which surprises me. Flowing Cloud Moon Chase has no interest in absorbing a Dao rhyme it now embodies, and I will certainly not be using it twice, so I roll it up and put it away. Somebody will want it eventually. Then I take out the pill furnace and a set of key-gathering pill materials. I do not light it myself. I summon the purple imperial dragon flame and tell it to handle the refining. In the next second, it sweeps up a portion of the materials, drops them into the furnace, and gets to work. I sit there smiling like an idiot at a furnace that is doing my job for me. I do not have to cultivate, I do not have to drill my Dao techniques, and now I do not even have to refine my own pills. Lying flat has never been this productive. My thanks go to the system and to every Big Brother technique living rent-free inside me. All the same, I make a show of doing the work. Ever since I left the Flowing Cloud Secret Realm and learned that the entire trial had been watched from start to finish, I have been careful. There's no telling which big shot in the sect has an eye pointed my way, and even an idle glance is dangerous if it catches something that should not be happening. Techniques cultivating on their own inside my body cannot be seen by anyone. A mysterious fire refining pills by itself is a different matter entirely. If the fire works the furnace while I'm off doing something else, the rawness of it is visible at a glance. So until I am strong enough not to care, or certain enough that nobody's looking, I will sit in front of the furnace and pretend. It costs me nothing but time and a blank expression. The purple Imperial Dragon Flame turns out to be an exquisite alchemist. It is a pill fire, so it holds any heat it likes for as long as it likes, and the first batch comes together quickly. The medicinal pills float up in front of me, 12 of them, all top grade. I put them away and start the next batch. For days after that I stay home and refine. 12 pills a batch, every single one top grade. The flowing cloud art cultivates quietly in the background and keeps my spiritual power from ever running low. 50 batches come out of that room like water out of a spring. Then I start swallowing them. The 8th level of chi gathering, the 9th, then the ceiling itself, chi gathering perfection, somewhere around the 300th pill. I let out one long breath. Perfection is reached, and the only thing left to prepare for is the breakthrough. Breaking through into the spirit sea realm is not the hard part. How a cultivator breaks through is the hard part, and there are 3 ways it goes. Swallow a spirit sea pill or something like it, and when the spiritual power gathers and forms its sea, that sea will be a blue spirit sea and nothing better. A cultivator with a spirit body condenses a purple spirit sea. A cultivator with a king body condenses a golden spirit sea, and gold is the strongest of the 3 grades. The rule underneath it is simple. Since the stronger the talent, the stronger the sea. And the sea is not decoration. Its quality is the foundation itself, and the measure of a cultivator's spiritual power. At the same realm, using the same means, a golden spirit sea crushes a blue one without much of a contest. A stronger foundation also means a longer road afterward. I have no intention of spending the rest of my life carrying around an ordinary blue spirit sea. That leaves me needing a spiritual item. The Great Tao has 50 paths, Heaven's operation produces 49, and humanity escapes through the one. Thin talent does not automatically sentence a man to blue water. A mortal body cultivator can still condense a purple spirit sea, or even a golden one. And the thing that makes it possible is a spiritual item. Spiritual items are formed by seizing the natural creation of heaven and earth, and most of them exist as plants and trees. They are not spirit medicines, and their effects run far past anything a spirit medicine can do. The catch is that they are extremely rare. With one in hand, I could reach purple at the very least. Whether it goes gold from there depends on the cultivator, and I have never had much confidence in myself. I have an enormous amount of confidence in the flowing cloud art, so I like my chances at gold quite a lot. The trouble is that I have no idea where to find one. The Cloud Sea Sect is a top-tier force in the Azure Cloud realm and ought to have a few and perhaps contribution points can buy one. Since arriving here I have done nothing but cultivate, so my acquaintance on Danso Peak amounts to Senior Sister Gangyung and no one else. I stand outside her courtyard, cup my hands, and call in to ask whether Senior Sister Gang is at home, giving my name as I do. A moment later the grape formation over the residence opens and the courtyard gate swings wide, and she comes out smiling and tells me to come in, calling me Junior Brother Jin. I thank her and apologize for the intrusion and step through. Her courtyard is about the size of mine, which says nothing bad about how the sect treats an intersect disciple in the Spirit Sea realm. The Cloud Sea 9 Heavens have quietly raised the standard of living for the outer sect disciples of the 9 Peaks. In the main hall, she asks whether I have come with questions about cultivation or about alchemy. In a way, I tell her, and then I ask whether there's any way to get hold of a spiritual item. The word is barely out before she has the whole picture, and she says I must be preparing for my breakthrough. She would know. Her own talent is good enough that she carries a spirit body, and when her time came, she used a spiritual item and condensed a golden spirit sea. The Cloud Sea sect is generous with the disciples it grows, and any disciple with a spirit body who reaches key gathering perfection can simply go and claim a spiritual item outright. The arithmetic is easy for the sect. A spirit body reaches purple water unaided, and a spiritual item turns that purple into gold, which is worth the cost of the gift. My situation is not that situation, and she knows it while she is still thinking it over. By the rules, I am a mortal body and I do not qualify. By the results, I took first place in this year's Flowing Cloud trial, where all 3 spirit bodies went home behind me. She turns it over for a moment and lays the whole reasoning out for me plainly. Then she suggests I come along and put the question to her master, to see whether a disciple in my position qualifies after all. I tell her I will have to trouble her. She says it is a small matter and is already moving toward the gate. That is Gangyang exactly, and I am walking to Elder Sa before I have finished agreeing to go. The Elder's residence is not far, only a peak neighboring Danso Peak. Inside the Cloud Sea sect, a core disciple whose cultivation reaches the Tao Foundation may claim a mountain of his own and raise a Tao arena on it. A Purple Mansion Elder does the same as a matter of course. The Sect's territory is vast enough that nobody has ever had to argue about space. We come up outside Elder Sa's immortal cave, and Gangyang calls out to announce herself and request an audience with her master. A voice from inside tells us to come in. The formation over the cave parts to leave a gap, and she leads me straight through. Elder Sa is waiting inside, and a bit of a smile shows on his face when he sees me. He asks what the two of us have come about. Gangyang lays it out at once. The spiritual item, my breakthrough, And finally, the question itself, whether the sect can bestow a spiritual item directly on a disciple in junior brother Jin's position. Elder Sa shakes his head and says no. She wants to know why, and she does not hide that she finds it unreasonable. Junior brother Jin may have no spirit body, she says, but his cultivation speed is not one step behind one. His comprehension ability is extraordinary, and he took first place in the last flowing cloud trial. She asks whether talent like that is not worth a spiritual item. There are things she has not been told, Elder Saw answers, and then he tells them. Many years ago, the sect produced a disciple whose talent and comprehension ability stood level with the special physiques and arguably above them. The sect made an exception for him and ruled that mortal body disciples of comparable talent and comprehension could also be bestowed a spiritual item. It did not take long for people to work that rule open, and once the sect saw what was happening, it closed the door on mortal body disciples entirely. Talent can be faked, Elder Sa says, and comprehension can be faked, but a physique cannot. A man either has one or he does not. And if a mortal body disciple truly does shine as bright as a spirit body or brighter, then he will certainly be able to get his hands on a spiritual item by his own ability. I nod along with that. Free would have been pleasant, but I never expected free. A chance is enough, so I cup my hands and ask Elder Sa what methods there are for getting one. Searching alone is very difficult and requires outrageous luck, he says, but the sect deliberately left mortal body disciples a door. That door is the Outer Sect Grand Competition. It is held once every 3 years. Only mortal body disciples at Chi Gathering Perfection may enter, and the top 3 each walk away with a spiritual item. Everyone behind them collects a spirit sea pill and goes home. Only mortal body disciples then. The top 3 should not be especially hard as far as I am concerned. I ask when the next one falls. 3 months out, Elder Sa says, stroking his beard. He tells me to try it if I like, but if it does not work out, he says I am better off waiting the full 3 years for the next one, since a better spirit sea matters far more than a fast one. He noticed my cultivation the moment I walked in, and Chi Gathering Perfection at my age surprised him without exactly shocking him. He has known for a while that my talent is not a step behind a spirit body. To his mind, those first 3 months of mine were slow only because 100 Herbs Valley is a poor place to breathe. On Danso Peak, the spiritual chi is thick, and the Flowing Cloud trial handed me more than 50,000 contribution points to spend on resources. A straight climb to Chi Gathering Perfection is simply what should have happened. What he does not believe is that I can take the top 3. The Outer Sect Grand Competition bars spirit body disciples, true, but a great many of those who do enter have spent years sitting still in the Chi Gathering realm, refusing to break through, saving themselves for exactly this. They are gambling 3 years of their lives on a purple spirit sea or a golden one. Those veterans fight extremely well, and their mastery of Dao techniques is nothing to laugh at, and by any measure Elder Sa can apply, I am not there yet. 3 months is not enough road to catch them on. He puts my likely ceiling at the top 10 and keeps that number politely to himself. I thank him and bow over my cupped hands and do not argue with a word of it. I do have to try, because I am not spending another 3 years waiting. And whatever the veterans have, I have Flowing Cloud Moon Chase, and I have the Purple Imperial Dragon Flame. Most mortal body disciples in the Chi Gathering realm never get past the Flowing Cloud myriad forms handed to them at the gate. A second top-tier Dao technique is nearly impossible to come by at their level. Not everyone takes first in the Flowing Cloud trial and walks off with one. Most of them will manage an advanced Dao technique at best before they break through, and none of them are carrying a mysterious fire that frightens people. Gang Gyung and I do not stay long. Once we are outside, she tells me not to be anxious. My talent is not a step behind a spirit body, she says, and 3 years of delay would be nothing in a life this long. I smile and nod. She is comforting me and I do not need it, but only a fool throws kindness back, so I take it and say nothing. Then I ask how much she actually knows about the Outer Sect Grand Competition. Going into the Flowing Cloud trial, I at least knew my 3 biggest opponents by name and by physique. Going into this one, I am blind, and the Cloud Sea sect has a truly monstrous number of Outer Sect disciples. She admits she does not know much either and cannot give me many suggestions. What she does remember is that every year the top 3 have their Dao techniques at minor achievement, and that now and then someone shows up with major achievement. Everyone in the matches stands at Chi Gathering Perfection, and the rules allow only one magical artifact, the Flowing Cloud Sword the sect issues to every disciple. Strip out cultivation and strip out weapons, and what is left is Dao techniques, which is what the whole competition really measures. That is a relief to hear. Minor achievement, is it? 3 months at the speed my Dao techniques cultivate should be enough, barring something strange. The Purple Imperial Dragon Flame will probably not reach minor achievement in that time and will still be sitting at proficient. But the Purple Imperial Dragon Flame is strong enough that proficiency hardly matters. Top 3 is a real target. Still, safe is better than sorry, so I go looking for one more edge, and I happen to have 1 Spirit Awakening point left over. Another mastered means is another slice of strength, and slicing away at my own weak points is exactly what the system is for. Body refining. I will have to do it eventually, so I might as well start now. I ask her whether the Sects cultivation method tower holds any decent body refining cultivation techniques. The question stops her flat for a second, and then she asks, half curious and half amused, whether I really do intend to make a run at this year's competition. Since the chance exists, I tell her, I have to take it. She does not let it go immediately. With my comprehension ability, she says simply staying on the path would carry my Tao techniques to minor achievement inside 3 years, and possibly to major achievement. Picking up a body refining technique now would only slow that down. Body refining is not a light undertaking either, and it eats resources at a frightening rate. Then she talks herself out of it mid-sentence and tells me to have it my way. I watch her do it and say nothing. Somewhere between one sentence and the next, she worked out that my comprehension is wide enough to carry a second technique without dropping the first. The worst it can cost me is this year's placing, and 3 years out, I would still be sitting on excellent odds. So she surrenders to her own reasoning and moves on. I smile and ask whether she has anything to recommend. She thinks, and then her eyes light up. There is one body refining technique in the Sect that's stuck in her memory, she says, called the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art. Cultivated to its peak, it is said to give a man physical strength comparable to the Dragon Clan. There is an elder in the Sect who practices that very technique and who is quite famous for it. The catch, she adds, is that a technique that strong demands resources to match, and precious ones. The name stops me cold, because it is the exact name of a technique from a novel I read in my previous life. That alone makes me interested. I ask whether it costs a great many contribution points. The complete version, she says, is far outside what I could afford. But cultivation techniques are not like Tao techniques, since a cultivation technique can be exchanged for in pieces. The Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art runs to 5 volumes, and the first volume alone is within reach. That settles my next stop. Unless something better is sitting on the shelf beside it, the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art is what I will cultivate. We head back to Danso Peak together and split at the fork, Gang Gyeong toward her courtyard and me toward Cloudsea Peak. The cultivation method tower has an elder presiding over it the same way the Tao Arts building does, and the inside of the tower is a world of its own. There are more jade slips in here than a man can look at without his eyes going loose. Not all of them can be exchanged for contribution points either, since some cultivation techniques come only as Sect rewards, which is a pity but not my problem today. The Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art is not on the restricted list. I go looking for it and end up standing in front of a tall bookshelf where a single green jade slip floats inside a green light barrier. Both the slip and the barrier give off an aura heavy enough to lean on. The name of the first volume is written across the face of it. I reach out and put my hand against the barrier, and the technique's origin, its effects, and the cautions attached to cultivating it all pour into my head at once. It came out of an emperor clan of the Hanwha world, a clan destroyed so long ago that only the technique outlived it. The complete Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art was created by a human race great emperor, which makes it a true emperor scripture. That is a heavier pedigree than I was braced for. The Hanwha world is a major 1,000 worlds, the upper plane above the upper plane above the Azure Cloud Realm where I currently stand. The Cloudsea sect of the Azure Cloud Realm inherited its legacy from the Cloudsea Holy Land of the Hanwha world. Both Holy Lands and Emperor clans are the forces of a great emperor. All of that I picked up only recently, and it means the legends I heard as a boy were not legends at all. Among cultivation techniques, the Emperor Scripture stands at the top, so whatever else the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art is, it is not bad. There is one wound in it. The final volume has been lost for many years, and among all the Holy Lands and Emperor clans of the Hanwha world, only the first 4 volumes survive, the Cloudsea Holy Land included. Choosing this technique means accepting that the 4th volume may be the end of my road. Even so, a 4th volume of an Emperor Scripture beats the peak of most body refining techniques ever written. I do not decide on the spot. I keep it as my leading option and go touch every other body refining technique in the tower, which takes a while. When I am done, the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art is still the best of them, at least among the ones a disciple at my level can reach. So I take the 1st volume down and stop deliberating. I carry the barrier-wrapped jade slip downstairs to the tower guarding elder and tell him I want to exchange for it, holding out my disciple token. He does not make conversation. He deducts a truly obscene sum of contribution points, dispels the light barrier, and lets me take hold of the slip. A streak of green spiritual light shoots out of it straight into my forehead. The whole of the 1st volume prints itself into my mind, the cultivation method and, alongside it, the resource requirements. The requirements are terrifying. Body refining techniques generally run on demon beast flesh, but ordinary demon beast flesh is useless here. Only flesh from a demon beast carrying Dragon Clan bloodline will feed the Azure Sky Dragon Transformation Art. and a demon beast with dragon blood in it costs many times what an ordinary one costs. The legacy finishes transmitting, the light barrier closes back over the jade slip, and the slip floats itself home to the shelf. I salute it and walk out. That exchange gutted me. More than 50,000 contribution points hit rock bottom in a single transaction, and I only managed it at all because I belong to a top-tier force. Anywhere else, the first volume of an Emperor's scripture would have stayed on the shelf forever. Now I need income, because the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art will eat resources for as long as I cultivate it. Even after it wakes up with a mind of its own, it will need feeding to make me stronger. So I do not go home. I go down the mountain to the Sect market with 300 chi gathering pills in my storage pouch. Every one of them is top grade, and every one is worth contribution points or spirit stones to somebody. Selling them a bottle at a time would cost me weeks I do not have, so I want the whole lot gone at once, even at a small loss. The pill shop I pick already has several disciples inside picking through the shelves. The owner is a middle-aged cultivator who sees me come in and greets me with a smile, asking what pills I need. I go straight to the counter and tell him I have chi gathering pills to sell, and ask whether he buys. Naturally, he buys. Then he takes a second look at my robes, says I must be a disciple of Danzo Peak, and asks to see the quality. Each of the 9 peaks dresses its disciples differently enough that a shopkeeper can read a man's home mountain at a glance. Danzo Peak means alchemy, so his manner warms considerably before he has seen a single pill. I take a jade bottle out of my storage pouch and hand it over. He opens it and shakes one pill into his palm. Round and translucent, its pill veins clean and a faint spiritual light moving under the surface. And he goes quiet while he examines it. Then his eyebrows climb. He asks whether this is really a top-grade chi gathering pill, and says it is simply the finest top-grade chi gathering pill he has ever laid eyes on. He runs a shop, so he has handled more chi gathering pills than he can count. Plenty of them top-grade. This one still feels better to him than a top-grade pill has any business feeling. He is not imagining it, since the pill is genuinely a shade better than standard, just enough to say that whoever refined it has a hand approaching perfection. Somewhere in that thought he works out that he is about to pick up a treasure. He checks the rest of the bottle pill by pill, and every single one is the best of its grade. When he finally looks up, his tone has gone serious. He tells me the quality is as good as quality gets and asks whether there are more. 300, I tell him. All top grade, and I set the remaining 29 jade bottles on his counter. 10 pills to a bottle. He inspects all of them, slowly, and then names his numbers. The going rate in the bazaar for a top-grade chi gathering pill is about 100 contribution points, and he normally buys at 90. Mine are not ordinary top grade, so he is willing to raise his hand and take the whole lot at 100 each. 30,000 contribution points in total, if that suits me. It suits me beautifully. I nod and thank him, and he tells me the thanks belong on his side of the counter, and that if I ever have more pills to move, I should come straight to him. Definitely, I tell him, and I mean it. A steady buyer who does not try to shave a junior brother down is worth more than the extra points I might squeeze out of somebody else. We settle the transaction quickly, 30,000 contribution points onto my token, and 300 pills into his hands, and I cut mine in farewell on the way out. The rest of the market takes the money straight back. The first volume of the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art came with a pill formula inside it, for a medicinal pill called the Dragon Vein Pill. That pill is the only one in existence suited to a cultivator working through the first volume. Its materials are exactly as bad as they sound. A Dragon Vein Pill wants the blood of a demon beast carrying Dragon Clan bloodline, along with several spirit medicines closely tied to the Dragon Clan. And none of that comes cheap. If I belonged to any sect smaller than the Cloudsea sect, I doubt the market at the foot of the mountain would even stock them. 30,000 contribution points evaporate in an afternoon. I buy 50 more sets of key gathering pill materials on top of it. Chi gathering pills are the only income I have, and the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art is going to need feeding. Then I go home and shut the door. I let the purple Imperial Dragon flame out to run the pill furnace and call up the system panel while it works. My name at the top, my realm sitting at chi gathering perfection, and 1 spirit awakening point still unspent. Under cultivation techniques there are 2 now, the flowing cloud art with its spirit awakening long since completed, and the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art with that line still empty. The Dao technique side of the list runs to 3 entries. Flowing Cloud Myriad Form sits at Proficient and Awake. Flowing Cloud Moonchase the same, and the Purple Imperial Dragon Flame still only at Introductory and very much awake. The empty line is the one I am looking at. I spend the point on it. The Azure Sky Dragon transformation art wakes up, takes one look through my body and pronounces me weak. Not just weak, too weak it says, a little chick. Then it gets to work without waiting for a reply, and I feel it start cleansing my marrow and forcing my physical body into better shape. There is a stinging all through me, everywhere at once, though it never quite crosses into pain. After a while, it stops being unpleasant at all and settles into something I would honestly describe as nice. That is a worrying thing to notice about oneself. My physique comes out the other side improved, and not only in the obvious direction. The strength of my physical body is plainly greater, and that part I can feel. My talent has been nudged upward as well, which I do not feel in the slightest and simply have to take on faith. Then the art quits on me mid-effort and announces that it has stopped cultivating. A demand for a dragon vein pill follows immediately, and then a second demand for the same dragon vein pill, in case the first was too subtle. I tell it to calm down, that the pills are in the furnace. The Azure Sky Dragon transformation art is nothing like the flowing cloud art. The flowing cloud art will happily sit there drinking heaven and earth spiritual chi and cultivate on nothing at all. This one refuses to move a finger without resources, and specifically without resources connected to dragons. It is a gold-eating monster, and it has no shame about it whatsoever. The purple Imperial Dragon Flame finishes a furnace of Dragon Vein pills before long, 12 of them, all first-tier top grade. Dragon Vein pills run from first tier to third tier, and first tier is all my body can digest for now. I do not bother bottling them. I take one out and swallow it on the spot, and the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art seizes it the instant it lands and starts breaking it down. A faint green line surfaces on my forearm, my first dragon vein. The first volume of the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art cultivates the skin, condensing dragon veins across it, which is why the volume also goes by the name of the Dragon Pattern Scroll. It runs in 3 stages, and finishing all 3 condenses 360 dragon veins. One stage is worth 120 of them, and 120 dragon veins means the physical body has reached the realm of a first-stage body cultivator at perfection. As for walking around covered in green tattoos, the veins hide themselves whenever I want them hidden. So I keep eating. One dragon vein pill goes down after another, and with the art awake it wrings every drop of medicinal power out of each one, laying strand after strand of green down under my skin. 12 pills disappear quickly and leave 12 dragon veins behind, which is a good return. At that rate, 120 first-tier top-grade dragon vein pills would carry the first stage all the way to completion. 120 pills sounds like nothing until a person prices the materials. A single set costs a small fortune, and it is only because I have a cheat sitting in my core that 10 sets can cover the whole first stage. Anybody else would be pouring contribution points and spirit stones into that hole for years, and hiring an outside alchemist to do the refining would cost more still. The obvious thought arrives, which is whether I could sell dragon vein pills instead. The answer is no. They fetch a high price and they do not move. A key gathering pill is wanted by every cultivator in the realm, while a dragon vein pill is wanted only by body cultivators, and realistically only by body cultivators practicing this exact technique. Anyone on a different body refining path can buy something with far better value for the money. Only people cultivating the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art have no choice at all. And for the first volume, no choice means the dragon vein pill. There are other options besides pills. Certain rare heaven and earth treasures can also feed the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art, and they are more precious than dragon vein pills by a wide margin. Precious is not really the word though. Dragon vein pills are precious, meaning the materials cost an ugly amount but can be bought whenever I want them. Heaven and earth treasures are rare, meaning a man can carry a mountain of spirit stones around for a decade and never find one. For the next 2 months my life has the shape of a millstone. Refine dragon vein pills, refine key gathering pills, swallow the dragon vein pills, sell the key gathering pills, buy more materials and start again. I go back and forth between my residence and the Sect market like a man on a rope. Somewhere in there I become very glad that I joined Danso Peak, and gladder still that I took Gang Gyung's advice about the spirit-devouring mysterious fire and got into alchemy. Without the pills I refine myself. There is no version of this where I could afford the technique I am cultivating. 2 months later, 120 dragon veins sit under my skin. That puts my body cultivator realm at first stage perfection, and with the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art behind it, a first stage perfection body cultivator can trade blows with a cultivator of the Spirit Sea realm. The Outer Sect Grand Competition has stopped worrying me. Once the first stage of the Dragon Pattern Scroll reaches perfection, I stop taking first tier top grade dragon vein pills, even though I could keep swallowing them and grind out the second stage on cheap fuel. That road cuts itself off behind me. The first volume is explicit about it. First tier pills for the first stage, second tier for the second, third tier for the third. Dragon veins are condensed out of the medicinal power itself, so a second stage vein grown on first tier power comes out weaker than one grown on the pill it was meant to have. The rule runs the other way too. A cultivator working the first stage cannot reach for second grade or third grade pills because the potency is too fierce and the vein collapses instead of setting. Follow the record in the technique, step by step, and stop trying to be clever. 1 month left. I hear about the Tao discussion hall on Cloudsea Peak only recently, and the name is grander than the thing. It is a place where Sect disciples spar, and that is all it is. Entry costs contribution points, though not many, and once inside there is a board posting who is fighting whom that day, along with a window where a disciple can bet on the outcome. 90% of the pot goes to whoever bet correctly. The hall takes the house's share of the last 10 and splits it evenly with the winner of the match, and that 5% exists purely to keep disciples volunteering to fight. I am not here to fight, and I am not here to bet. 2 months of quiet asking around has told me who this year's popular contestants are. Their names hardly matter. What matters is that popular contestants come to the Tao discussion hall constantly, partly for the contribution points and partly because sparring sharpens them, which makes this room the cheapest scouting ground in the Sect. I pay the higher entrance fee for one of the good seats and get a small private room with a clear view, a pot of tea, and a few plates of snacks on the table. The first pair up are both popular contestants, which is luck I did not pay for. The rules here match the competition rules exactly. Magical artifacts permitted so long as the artifact is the flowing cloud sword, and neither of them bothers drawing one. They fight with Tao techniques, and both of their flowing cloud myriad forms have reached minor achievement. I watch without blinking, then both of my Tao techniques start watching harder than I am. Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms reports that it is studying the Tao techniques of other people, and its proficiency begins climbing fast enough that the climb itself gets reported. Flowing Cloud Moon Chase joins in a moment later and starts climbing too. I sit there with my tea going cold and a grin I have to work to keep off my face. Watching other men fight turns out to have a use nobody ever mentioned to me. Coming here was a very good idea. Myriad Forms gains faster than Moonchase does, and the reason is on the stage, since the movement technique those two are using is Flowing Cloud Moonstep rather than Flowing Cloud Moonchase. Same lineage though, so Moonchase still climbs faster than it ever has on its own. Match follows match through the rest of the day, and only a handful feature fighters who have brought Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and Flowing Cloud Moonstep to minor achievement. Even so, the day is worth more to me than a month in my own room. When it ends, I am still hungry. A month goes by like that. I register for the Outer Sect Grand Competition somewhere in the middle of it, and by the end my Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms has reached minor achievement first. Flowing Cloud Moonchase falls short and stays at proficient. The Purple Imperial Dragon Flame has also reached proficient, and it got there entirely on its own cultivation, which surprises nobody who lives with it. The Sect Plaza is louder than it was for the Flowing Cloud trial 3 months ago, and that trial was not quiet. Enormous numbers of disciples have entered. The competition is restricted to Chi Gathering Perfection, but the Cloudsea Sect has so many disciples that Chi Gathering Perfection is as common as dirt here. On top of that, there are all the people who held their cultivation down on purpose, rather than break through, saving themselves for this. Plenty of them know they will not touch the top 3. The rewards do not stop at the top 3, and nobody sneers at a free bottle of Spirit Sea Pills. The prize table runs the whole length of the field. The top 3 each receive a spiritual item. 4th through 10th take a bottle of top-grade Spirit Sea Pills, and 11th through 30th a bottle of high-grade. 31st through 60th get a batch of medium-grade, and 61st through 100th a bottle of low-grade. A Spirit Sea Pill is a fairly standard 2nd-grade medicinal pill, and it does 2 jobs. It carries a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, and it raises a cultivator at Chi Gathering Perfection through the breakthrough, 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 through the breakthrough. 3 streams of light come down at the entrance of the Great Hall, and every head on the Sect Plaza turns at once. 3 elders come down, and one of them is Elder Jang, whom I met at the Flowing Cloud trial. The other 2 are strangers to me. The Cloudsea Sect really does keep an impressive number of Purple Mansion cultivators on hand, since 3 elders presided over the trial, and 3 more are presiding over this. Elder Jang declares the Outer Sect Grand Competition begun, and his voice carries across the whole plaza. A teleportation array takes every participant off the summit and sets us down at the foot of the mountain. An absurdly long and absurdly wide white jade staircase climbs from there all the way back to the Sect Plaza. The first 100 to reach the top advance, and that is the entire first round. It is a harsher opening than the Flowing Cloud trial, which took its time about cutting people. Nearly 10,000 of us are standing at the bottom of these stairs, and over 9,000 are about to go home. Everyone starts climbing at once, and the stairs are not merely stairs, because a grand array wakes up under the white jade the moment the round begins. The stronger a disciple is, the faster he climbs. The array weighs Tao techniques as well as cultivation, so casting a technique at higher proficiency lifts a good deal of the pressure off. That is how it separates one chi-gathering perfection disciple from another. I do not hide anything. Chi-gathering perfection, a body cultivator at first realm perfection, flowing cloud myriad forms at minor achievement, flowing cloud moon chase and the purple imperial dragon flame both at proficient. The pressure comes off me like a coat sliding down, and inside a few breaths I am out in front with the field strung out behind. There is a practical benefit to that as well. 10,000 people climbing one staircase is crowded no matter how wide the staircase is, and the only cure for the crowd is to leave it behind. Behind me, the faces are all doing the same thing. They stare after me with open disbelief, glancing at one another and finding that not one of them knows who I am. A dark horse turning up is ordinary enough. A dark horse climbing faster than everyone who has been preparing for 3 years is not. The question passing between them is whether that can really be a mortal body disciple of the chi-gathering realm. I climb on, thinking about nothing in particular, while the gap behind me widens. Up on the plaza, the 3 elders are watching the same thing. One of them says out loud that this disciple is not simple. Another admits he has no impression of the boy at all, and says that even a chi-gathering disciple carrying a spirit body would not be climbing faster. Elder Jiang knows exactly who is in front. The flowing cloud trial ended recently and left him a very clear memory, and knowing the name only makes the sight worse. He is beginning to wonder whether Danso Peak has quietly picked up a treasure, and to regret not fighting Senior Brother Saw for the boy when he had the chance. The pressure lifts off my whole body the instant my foot lands on the plaza. A token comes flying at me and I catch it, and the number 1 is engraved on the face of it. I take myself off to the side and sit down to rest. Others come up over the lip of the stairs slowly after that. Every one of them locks eyes on me on arrival, still chewing the same question. One of them is a Danso Peak disciple, and the rest lean on him to go and ask, since I am supposedly his own Peak's problem. He walks over, sits down beside me, and introduces himself as Lee Junmo before asking my name. He calls me senior brother when he asks, which tells me he has no idea when I joined the sect. Among cultivators, the strong are respected, and going by the first round, he has decided I am probably stronger than he is. I hand the courtesy back, calling him senior brother Lee and giving my own name as junior brother Jin Hyun. I know exactly who he is, because I spent 2 months asking about the popular contestants and his name came up constantly. Lee Junmo is famous mostly for having appalling luck. The elder who tested his physique on entry told him his talent was extremely strong, only a thread short of a spirit body. He took 4th in the Flowing Cloud trial. A 1.5 years later, he took 4th in the Outer Sect Grand Competition as well. He refused to swallow it, so he held his cultivation at chi-gathering perfection and waited 3 years for this one. 3.5 years he has been standing still. He spent that time hunting for a spiritual item on his own, and came back empty every time, which leaves this competition holding everything he has. He asks when I join the sect. This year I tell him, Lee Junmo stops moving entirely. He asks the question again, slowly, as though the words might come out different the second time, and I nod. Then he goes quiet. The arithmetic he is doing is not kind to him. It took him a full year to reach chi-gathering perfection, and a disciple who joined this year has done it in half of that. Worse, the first round said plainly that I am no ordinary chi-gathering perfection cultivator, so my mastery of Tao techniques has to be high as well. The word he arrives at is not human, since even a spirit body disciple would not be this ridiculous. For one bad moment he wonders whether the sect has let a king body disciple in here to bully ordinary people. The others watching from a distance cannot make sense of the face he is making, and none of them can place the disciple sitting beside Brother Lee either. They settle on waiting until he comes back to explain. Lee Junmo excuses himself and walks over to them, because news like that is too heavy to carry alone. He sighs and tells them he asked properly, that I am a disciple who joined this year, and that this is why nobody knows my face. The air over that little group goes flat. Somebody tells him the joke is not funny. Lee Junmo shakes his head and asks why he would lie, since I am visibly younger than any of them, and no old disciple stays unknown for years. The silence comes back heavier. Then one of them asks the question from the bottom of his soul. Half a year in the sect, chi-gathering perfection, a Tao technique at minor achievement, or possibly major achievement, and this is supposed to be a mortal body. The first round ends not long after that. 100 disciples have reached the plaza and taken tokens, and the moment the 100th arrives, the grand array under the white jade stairs shuts down. Elder Jiang tells everyone still on the steps that the round is over and that anyone without a token is eliminated. The ones far down the mountain take it cheerfully enough, since most of them only came to see what it was like. The The ones near the top take it badly, and I do not blame them, since a few dozen steps is a miserable way to lose 3 years. I get up and walk to the middle of the plaza. Elder Jiang lays out the second round. The ladder starts at the bottom. Number 100 may decline and have his ranking fixed at 100th, or challenge number 99, and a win makes him 99 with the same choice about 98. The moment a disciple declines, his placing is settled. It runs that way up to number 1, and number 1 is me. Then Elder Jiang waves his hand and a huge circular platform rises out of the center of the plaza. Low, no more than a meter, but wide across. A core disciple of the Tao Foundation realm steps up onto it as referee and explains the only 2 ways to lose, which are being knocked off the platform or conceding. Then he asks number 100 whether he intends to challenge number 99. Number 100 jumps onto the platform and says of course he does. He knows his odds. To improve his reward at all, he would have to fight from 100th place up to 60th, which is not happening, but declining without swinging once is not something a cultivator can live with. So he swings. Number 99 has no reason to hand over a place for free and comes up to meet him. Neither of them is especially strong, though both carry Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and Flowing Cloud Moonstep at Proficient, and nobody reaches the top 100 by accident. They are evenly matched, which means the challenger loses, and number 100 goes back down with his ranking fixed. 99 challenges, 98 challenges, 97, and on it goes up the ladder. Nearly every challenge fails, with only a handful of upsets in the whole run. That is the Grand Array's doing, since the climb sorted us by strength almost perfectly. A duel is still a duel though, and a slight edge does not always survive a bad angle. Match after match until 4th place stands up to challenge 3rd. This is the one everybody has been waiting for, because 3rd place walks away with a spiritual item, and 4th place walks away with a bottle of pills. 3rd is Li Junmo. 4th is a Byakuso Peak disciple named Wang Wu. On the platform, Wang Wu begs pardon of Brother Li for what he is about to try, and Li Junmo invites junior brother Wang to make the first move. Neither of their faces has anything casual left in it, and the crowd around the platform goes quiet. The referee's voice is barely finished when they both move. Flowing Cloud Moonstep takes them apart into afterimages. 2 blurs crossing a low stone platform faster than the eye follows, the disturbed air whistling thinly behind them. Someone below says out loud that they are fast, and someone answers that both moonsteps have reached minor achievement, and the speeds are almost identical. Before that sentence is finished, Li Junmo changes tack. His figure halts, his hands close into a seal, and the cloud around him spreads wide and condenses into dozens of tiny flying needles. Each one glints cold, and they come down on Wang Wu like a rainstorm. The spread is enormous, and there is nowhere on that platform Wang Wu can step to be missed. His pupils shrink, but he is not slow. Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms answers on his side too, and the cloud gathers in front of him into a thick shield. The needles arrive in a long, dense rattle of impacts. The shield shakes hard, ripples chasing each other across its face, and it looks for a moment like it will not hold, because Li Junmo's Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms has reached major achievement. Cracks open under the barrage. Wang Wu's expression tightens and he tries to change his move into a counter, and he is already too late. Li Junmo pushes his spiritual power through the needles and they punch straight through the shield. The instant it breaks, he is moving again, Moonstep carrying him in behind a long sword of condensed cloud, thrusting for Wang Wu's face. Wang Wu throws himself aside and barely clears it. Then the sword changes shape mid-thrust, unraveling into several chains that wrap his arms and legs and hold him where he stands. He pulls against them and gets nothing for it. Li Junmo closes the distance, turns the flowing cloud sword around in his hand, and taps him on the chest with the hilt, and tells him he accepts the concession. The smile on Li Junmo's face is the smile of a man who has been waiting 3.5 years for nothing to go wrong. Even if he loses to number 2, the top 3 is his. Wang Wu gives him a rueful look and says he is impressed. He had no idea Brother Li's Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms had already reached major achievement, and he does not feel wronged by the loss. One step of difference, and the difference is a world. He is unwilling all the same, and already deciding to wait out the next 3 years. The referee calls the duel and declares Li Junmo the winner. Watching all this, I notice something odd. Almost nobody up there is using the Flowing Cloud Sword. The reason is simple enough. The Flowing Cloud Sword is only a medium-grade magical artifact. If a disciple's Tao techniques are shallow, the sword adds something. If they are deep, the sword takes something away, because the technique on its own hits harder than one routed through a mediocre blade. Put bluntly, the sword the Sect issues is too poor for the people at the top of this ladder. Give any of them a top-grade magical artifact and they would never let go of it. The referee turns to Li Junmo and asks whether he wants number 2. He nods. Number 2 comes up onto the platform. His name is Yuk Ryongso and he is a Sinso Peak disciple. cold-faced, with the kind of aloofness that does not appear to be an act. He offers senior brother Lee the first move with a gesture and says nothing else. Lee Junmo knows precisely what he is walking into. Yuk Ryongso's talent runs close to his own, but his comprehension runs ahead of it. He entered the Sect 3.5 years ago, half a year before the last Outer Sect Grand competition, which was just late enough to keep him out of it. This is his first time competing, and he has already climbed to second in the second round. His Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms and his Flowing Cloud Moon Step are both at major achievement. He also took a top 3 place in the Flowing Cloud trial and chose a top-tier Dao technique with it, and that has reached major achievement too. Lee Junmo took 4th in that trial and could only choose an advanced Dao technique, and he has ground that one to major achievement too. The gap is still wide. The two of them have sparred privately more times than either bothers to count, and Yuk Ryongso has won all of them. Lee Junmo tells him plainly that beating him is very difficult, and that a senior brother still wants to try, and his battle intent comes up like a wave. The referee ignores both of them and calls the start. Lee Junmo opens with the trick that has worked all afternoon, Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms pouring out countless cloud needles. Yuk Ryongso does not even look concerned. He holds still until the needles are committed, then Moonstep turns him into a wisp of pale smoke and slides him through the gaps. The movement is so elegant that with needles falling like rain, not one brushes his sleeve. Major achievement Moonstep, Lee Junmo says under his breath, and it is a compliment and a problem at once. His hands shift the incantation. The scattered needles rush together into one enormous cloud sword and come down at Yuk Ryongso, heavy, whistling as it falls. That is when Yuk Ryongso finally moves. He closes his right hand on empty air and his own Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms answers, the cloud around him gathering. Instead of a shield, it shapes a longsword, denser than the one falling at him, with light running along the body of it. The two swords meet in the air with a hard, clean crack and blow the air outward in a ring. Lee Junmo's sword shudders down its whole length. Yuk Ryongso's does not move at all. Both of them are at major achievement in the same technique, and the difference is still visible from where I stand. Then Yuk Ryongso turns his wrist, and his cloud sword divides into 3 and comes at Lee Junmo from 3 awkward angles at once. Lee Junmo hauls his sword back to guard and retreats fast, Moonstep dragging him toward open space. Yuk Ryongso is faster. He follows like a shadow, and the 3 cloud swords stay stuck to Lee Junmo without a gap anywhere, closing off every direction he might go. With nowhere left, Lee Junmo pushes Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms to its limit and packs shields of cloud energy around himself in layers, and the cloud sword goes through several of them in one motion. The force of it hits his chest and stumbles his feet and nearly puts him down. He catches himself, and when he looks up there is a sword point resting an inch from his throat. That is the match. Lee Junmo looks at the blade that is not so much as wavered, then at the calm face behind it, and smiles a helpless smile. He has lost again, and lost completely. And the part that stings is that Yuk Ryongso did it without ever reaching for his other top-tier Dao technique. That one is purely offensive and leaves the all-purpose Flowing Cloud Myriad Forms far behind. Lee Junmo has seen it work, and had it come out today, he would have been finished long before this. He scatters the cloud around him and cups his hands and tells Yuk Ryongso that his Dao techniques are profound, and that the senior brother is thoroughly impressed. Yuk Ryongso lets his cloud sword come apart, returns the salute, and says senior brother Lee is too kind. The referee calls it for number 2, then asks whether he wishes to challenge number 1. Yuk Ryongso nods, and his eyes are already down on me. I jump up onto the challenge stage light-footed while Lee Junmo is stepping off it. Final match of the Outer Sect Grand competition. Yuk Ryongso gives me his name over cupped hands and asks junior brother Jin for guidance, and I tell him gladly, and the referee starts us. I go first and I hold nothing back. One thought wakes the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art, and the 120 dragon veins stop hiding. They surface under the skin of my arms in cyan streaks with the light moving along them. The vitality rolling off me is far past anything an ordinary first realm perfection body cultivator carries, and it has the pressure of a dragon's roar folded into it. Down in the crowd, Lee Junmo's eyes go wide and he says the name out loud. Every disciple around the plaza who has heard of the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art starts talking at once. On the high platform, an elder laughs and says he knew the boy's physical body was extraordinary early on, and simply never guessed at which cultivation technique. All 3 noticed the body refining during the first round, and none thought it worth running a divine sense over a chi-gathering disciple to learn more. I tell senior brother Yuk to be careful, and the words are still in the air when I move. I go across that platform as a streak of light and put a punch into the space where he is standing, and the punch tears the air open with a crack like thunder. Between the Azure Sky Dragon transformation art in my body and Flowing Cloud Moon Chase in my legs, I am strong and fast at once. Yuk Ryongso has no time at all to step aside, Flowing cloud myriad forms throws up layered cloud shields in front of him instead. My fist goes into them and the outermost bursts on contact, then the second, then the third. His expression finally changes. Before the last of the shields can go, he is already sliding backward on moonstep like smoke off a fire, and he clears the edge of the shockwave by very little. Close quarters is a losing proposition against my body, and he has worked that out in one exchange. He steadies, and his face turns grave, and his hands move through seals while spiritual energy churns around him. Then he calls out the name of it. Taiyul Golden Sword. Golden light detonates above the stage. Sword after sword of condensed spiritual energy takes shape out of nothing, brilliant and thin and pointed at me. The sword chi coming off them saturates the air until the air itself seems to be cutting, hissing faintly. This is the other top-tier Dao technique he took out of the flowing cloud trial, and it is nothing like the all-purpose one. It exists to kill things, and it is his real trump card. He points, and several Taiyul golden swords rip forward as streaks of gold, so fast that they score shallow sword marks into the hard ground under their path. I do not get to be careless with that. The purple imperial dragon flame is awake and moving before I finish thinking about it. A faint dragon's roar rolls through the plaza as purple fire climbs out of my palm and becomes a purple fire dragon. It swells as it takes the wind, and its heat bends the light around it. I raise my hand and send it in. The dragon goes to meet the Taiyul golden swords, with a silence where the roar should be, and an agility nothing that size should have. It does not take them head on. It coils instead, raking with its claws and sweeping with its tail, catching each streak of golden light precisely as it arrives. Every contact throws off blinding light, a violent churn of energy, and the hiss of something burning. The purple flame carries so much heat that the Taiyul golden swords begin to dull and soften at the edges. Down below, Li Junmo recognizes the fire, since Danso disciples know their flames. He says it must be the spirit-devouring mysterious fire to hold that much spiritual power, and the envy carries all the way up here. He placed fourth in the flowing cloud trial, so he could only exchange for advanced Dao techniques, and this mysterious fire was one of the things fourth place cost him. He has been saving contribution points ever since, and is still short of a top-tier Dao technique. Not for much longer, though. Once this competition is finished and he breaks through to the Spirit Sea realm, he should finally have enough. Watching what my purple fire is doing to a major achievement sword technique has him looking forward to his own. On the high platform, the elders are no longer pretending to be composed. Elder Zhang says with feeling that the shape of this fire is miraculous and that its control is as precise as a living creature's. Its power exceeds an ordinary spirit-devouring mysterious fire outright, he adds, and the child's talent is truly extraordinary. Another elder swears and says he regrets it more and more by the minute. The third asks, apparently seriously, whether he can simply take the disciple by force. On the stage, Yuk Ryongso is the most shocked man present. His Taiyul golden swords are being turned aside by a flame. He pushes his spiritual energy to its limit and condenses more of them, denser and more solid, until a rain of golden swords hangs over the platform. If finesse will not get through, quantity will. I push the purple imperial dragon flame just as hard in answer. The purple fire dragon swells until its flames climb toward the sky, wrapping me in a shield of itself. It keeps splitting smaller dragon flames off its own body and sending them out to meet the golden rain. For a while, the stage is nothing but gold and purple tangled together, roaring, energy churning off the edges. The disciples watching from below cannot keep their eyes on any single part of it. Then the stalemate breaks. The purple fire dragon lets out one high-pitched roar and pulls all its surrounding flame inward at once, compressing it into a single streak of purple fire condensed past anything it has shown so far. It goes through the gaps in the golden rain like lightning finding a path through cloud, and it goes straight for Yuk Ryongso. Yuk Ryongso does not expect the flame to have a technique of its own. He crosses several Taiyul golden swords in front of his chest in a hurry, gold laid over gold, and the condensed streak of purple fire goes into them without slowing. There is no scattered crackle this time, only one dull roar that lands behind the ears instead of in them. Golden sword light and purple flame eat into each other, and in the end, with every disciple below watching, my purple imperial dragon flame burns clean through the swords in its path. Most of its strength goes with them. What is left carries on as a thin purple beam. It stops a foot from Yuk Ryongso's face, held off by a skin of cloud chi he throws up at the last instant, and then thins into nothing. The Taiyul golden sword is broken. His face goes white and his body sways, because losing a full-power Taiyul golden sword costs him a great weight of spiritual energy and shakes his mind besides. My fire has dimmed badly, and it still circles me, and it still looks like it could bite. Good enough. I step into flowing cloud moon chase and close on him again like something that has no need of feet. He forces his spiritual energy back up and shapes a cloud sword out of flowing cloud myriad forms. But the thing carries a fraction of the weight it had a minute ago. My dragon veins flicker as I swing my arms, breaking the cloud chi apart piece by piece until there is no distance left between us. My fist stops in front of his nose. He draws a slow breath, looks at the cyan dragon veins wrapped around my knuckles, and swallows hard. I tell him, smiling, that I accept his concession. He cups his hands and admits defeat without a single hedge in it, calling me impressive and calling himself beaten. He spent everything he brought, including the Teol Golden Sword, the strongest offensive Dao technique he owns. None of it touched my Azure Sky Dragon transformation art or that unreasonably spiritual purple Imperial Dragon Flame. Lee Junmo lost to me with a whole heart, and Yuk Ryongso loses the same way. I pull my fist and my momentum back, the dragon veins drain out of my skin, and the fire folds itself obediently into my body. Elder Jang announces to the whole field that the final winner is number 1, Jin Hyun. The disciples below sound satisfied for once. A match with the purple Imperial Dragon Flame on one side and the Taiyul Golden Sword on the other is worth standing in the sun for. Nobody could say that about the Peking chicken bouts earlier in the day. A good number of them start asking around about what Dao technique that purple fire is, because they want it too. Then somebody tells them it is a top-tier Dao technique, and that a person's own mysterious fire need not come out anything like mine. The whole conversation cools off in about 2 breaths. Nobody here can afford it, so that settles that. With the last match called, the Outer Sect Grand Competition is officially over, and the 3 elders begin handing out rewards. Everyone from 4th place to 100th receives a Spirit Sea pill. Then come the main prizes for the top 3, and an Elder Jang's palm 3 rings turn slowly in the air. He tells us the spiritual item rewards for the top 3 are inside them. As he speaks, the rings drift off and settle into my hand, into Yuk Ryongso's, and into Lee Junmo's. They are not ordinary rings either, but storage magical artifacts built for one purpose, since spiritual items have spirits in them and are particular about where they are kept. They are also top grade, which makes them a quiet 4th prize on top of the first 3, and the sect has never once asked for them back after a competition. Elder Jang says he hopes we use them well, and that all 3 of us condense a golden spirit sea. We cup our hands and thank him. The 3 elders leave ahead of everyone, and on his way out, Elder Jang lets his eyes sit on me 2 seconds longer than they need to. He wants to poach me, and he has missed his window. I belong to Danso now, and the lineage would never permit it. No elder there, least of all the Grand Elder, would watch one of their own disciples get walked off the peak by a competition judge. That would be a slap delivered to their own faces. All I know is that a senior elder has looked at me twice for no reason I can name. I turn it over once and decide it does not matter, because breaking through matters more. I cup my hands to the people around me, say this junior brother will take his leave first, and pull out my white cloud magic tool. Lee Junmo announces he is going too, and tells me to wait for him, which makes sense, since we are both Danso disciples walking the same road home. The rest scatter behind us. Anyone with a breakthrough waiting goes straight back to a sealed room to take it. On the way up, Lee Junmo asks where my residence is, and volunteers his own, which is the polite version of saying he would like to be friends. I do not turn him down. 2 Danso disciples on the same road, with a senior brother who thinks closeness to me can only help him, is not an arrangement with a trap in it. Friends are worth having on this path. Until today, the only person I really knew on Danso Peak was senior sister Gang Gyong, so picking up one more fellow Taoist counts as a good afternoon. We do not talk much beyond that, and back on the peak we split at our own gates and get to work. Back in my room I sit cross-legged on the bed and turn the ring over in my fingers. I send my divine thought into the ring and find a green spiritual plant sitting inside it with a single golden pattern running across the leaf. Every spiritual item carries a pattern like that, which is the fastest way anyone alive tells a spiritual item from an ordinary herb, because no one mistakes the look of it after seeing it once. The pattern is also the price tag, since a spirit medicine is graded by how many years it stood in the ground, and a spiritual item by how many golden patterns it wears. To carry a cultivator from chi gathering into the spirit sea, 1 pattern is plenty. I take the plant out of the ring, and the little thing immediately tries to bolt. Spiritual items having spirits turns out to mean exactly that. A thin white cloud rope comes out of the air around me and ties it down before it clears my knee. I hold it there and tell the flowing cloud art that the goods have arrived and it can begin. The answer arrives less as words than as a jolt of appetite. That is plainly not mine. My own cultivation technique announces that it is excited, then giggles, then confirms that it has begun absorbing the spiritual item. My face does something involuntary. An ancient inheritance of the Cloud Sea Holy Land is giggling, and it certainly did not pick that up from me. That is not a thing that should be learnable. The flowing cloud art gets to work anyway, and the strength of the spiritual item pours down toward my core in one long unbroken swallow. Soon there is no plant left, only spiritual light running inward. I keep my mind flat and let the spiritual energy in the room come to me. Inside the core, the medicinal power and the spiritual energy fuse and begin to pool, and then a first thread of gold shows in the middle of it. The whole thing turns gold at once. My aura changes over, and I am standing in the early stage of the spirit sea. Then my cultivation technique composes a line of poetry about itself.